Give him a minute here or more, but there he is.
Sorry, I'm a little late. I finally got in. I was having some difficulty.
Story of my life, Commissioner Morgan. No worries. Madam Secretary, does it appear that we're prepared to proceed?
I believe so. We've got the court reporter, Dawn Stark.
All right. Welcome, Ms. Stark.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you increase your volume, please, a little bit, Ms. Stark?
All right, hold on a second here.
Oh, that's better.
Okay.
That's better than okay. Can everybody hear Ms. Stark?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'm still trying to sort out who is here, please. So
we will take care of that momentarily.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, are we ready to call this? Okay, here we go. Fire Commission special meeting, March 30th, 2022, and the time is 1:33. This meeting is being held by WebEx pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E and the mayoral proclamations declaring the existence of a local emergency. To join the meeting, use the link on the posted agenda on the SFFD website. To participate during public comment, please call 1-415-655-0001 and use access code 24929174757. Members of the public will have opportunities to participate during public comment. The public is asked to wait for the particular agenda item before making a comment on that item. Comments will be addressed in the order they are received. When the moderator announces that the commission is taking public comment, members of the public can raise their hand by pressing *3, and you will be queued. Callers will hear silence when waiting for your turn to speak. Operator will unmute you. When prompted, callers will have 2 minutes to provide comment. Please unraise your hand after you finish your public comment. Ensure that you are in a quiet location, speak clearly, and turn off any TVs or radios around you. Item 1, roll call. President Catherine Feinstein.
Present.
Vice President Stephen Nakajo.
Present.
Commissioner Francie Covington.
Present.
Commissioner Army Morgan.
Present.
Item 2, case number 2021-20, hearing and deliberations on verified complaint filed with the Commission by Chief of Department. On November 3rd, 2021, Chief of Department Janine Nicholson filed a verified complaint with the Fire Commission against member for a non-disciplinary separation. This case may be heard in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B and San Francisco Administrative Code Section 67.10B. Did we want to do introductions before we get to public comment?
I would ask that everybody we know that our 4 commissioners are present. If everybody else could please state their appearances for the record.
Chief Nicholson, Fire Department, with City Attorney.
Deputy City Attorney Jennifer Stoughton on behalf of the department.
Thank you.
Heather Gibson on behalf of William Amalu.
Very good. Thank you. Hello, Ms. Gibson.
Deputy City Attorney Brad Russell, counsels for the Fire Commission.
Right. Very good.
This is Adam Wood from Local 798. I apologize for being misidentified on the device. I'm using Secretary Rollins' device, but Adam Wood representing Will Amalu as his union representative.
All right. I thank you, and we can talk about how we can work out questioning. We'll get to that as before we go along. Are we missing anybody? No, we
A
do have
member.
present.
I can't see. Is William Amalu present?
I'm sorry, he is.
Okay.
Firefighter Amalu, can you please confirm your presence?
With firefighter paramedic Amalu present.
Thank you. All right, I think we have everybody, and we have our certified court reporter, Ms. Stark, and you're with us, Ms. Stark?
Yes, I am.
Great, okay. I need to go through a few things that are preliminary and procedural. Those of you that have participated in these hearings before know what it is that I'm going to say. And but it is necessary that these be recorded for the record. We have identified everybody that is present and participating. And actually, before we get to that, I think we need to do public comment. And for that, I turn to Commission Secretary Conifrey.
Public comment on special meeting agenda item possible closed session. Members of the public may comment on all matters pertaining to agenda item 2 and whether to consider the matter in closed session. Government Code Section 954.3A, Administrative Code Section 67.15B.
And
We've got public comment.
okay.
Caller, would you like to make public comment?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you. My name is Dan Yance, retired San Francisco Fire Department. Commissioners, you've overseen the termination of a number of firefighters recently. You are a check and balance in the progressive disciplinary process. You have incredible latitude to agree or disagree with the chief or to come up with alternative judgments. The primary job description of the commission is to make decisions that facilitate the efficient operations of the fire department. Every commissioner is aware that the greatest assets of the fire department are its firefighters. The city attorneys are framing this as if you have no choice, that these firefighters are demanding the department ignore a health order. That's clearly not true. They've simply requested accommodations in line with the health order. The process for determining religious sincerity has raised many questions. An attorney saying it was determined that it was impractical to accommodate is not going to hold up in a religious discrimination lawsuit. After hearing that, one attorney stated carelessly that Comirnaty was readily available. After hearing that, I went to my local pharmacist and confirmed what I already knew. Comirnaty is not available anywhere in the U.S. So all COVID vaccines that are available are under the EUA at best. The language in the EUA that makes mandating these vaccines illegal has language that includes coercion. Discrimination and wrongful termination lawsuits are just beginning. The vaccine injury and wrongful death lawsuits, some of them being criminal, are going to be much more detrimental. Please make the best choice for the future of the department. Vote to not terminate these firefighters and pursue reasonable alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller, did you want to make public comment?
Yes, hello.
This
is okay. This is Greg Saban, forced to retire prematurely. Unfortunately, we are here to witness yet another unlawful termination of a fellow firefighter. I'm sure everyone here knows that most cities and counties around the Bay Area have either reversed their mandates or never enforced one to begin with. This is not about safety. It has become all political. It has become abundantly clear that before the mandates came out, that backroom deals were made with the department heads. Even President Feinstein herself asked in prior commission meetings, what do we have to do to get these firefighters vaccinated? And I guess the answer to that is to threaten, coerce, dismissing their sincerely held religious beliefs, and by taking away their freedoms, liberties, and livelihoods. It won't happen in this kangaroo court setting, but one day everyone that has been a part of this shameful process will be held accountable. Thank you.
Caller, would you like to make public comment?
I would.
Your time
This is
starts
Michael
now.
Crotty. Michael Crotty, San Francisco firefighter. We know that this isn't about public health. We know this is about the funding that the government promised the city and county of San Francisco of the hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID relief that they got 100% compliance with being vaccinated. So, regardless of who dies from the shot, regardless of who's maimed for life, regardless of the long-term consequences, you sold us out for 30 pieces of silver. You are ending the lives in the fire service and every other department in the city for people who are against this religiously. Now, that's illegal, and we know why you're doing it. So this sham fraud front, it's a joke. You guys are all puppets, and you're answering to your slave masters, and you're committing horrible atrocities against these people. Think about that. You sold us out for money. You took away our careers. You're taking people's livelihoods, and you're joking. I'm like, how many people are going to be killed because of these shots? In the military, deaths are up 1,100%. Like, you can't deny what's happening. You can go and read your CNN BS, but the truth of the matter is we know the truth about all of this, and you're complicit. Now, you can pretend that this is a legal operation and a commission, but you...
Thank you. Your time is up. Caller, would you like to make public comment?
Yes. Yesterday, Janine Nicholson in the Fire Commission fired one of my colleagues. She is an amazing human being, a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a mother who has served the city of San Francisco with grace and professionalism as a firefighter.
Slow down, please. Slow down, please.
What?
Slow down, please.
Oh, yes, sir. We have a court reporter who is taking down everything. So I need you to speak a little more slowly, please, so that she can catch all your words.
Okay, I can do that. May I have my time back, please?
I stopped the clock. I'm going to start it up now.
Okay, what you have done to her and to others whose lives you've turned upside down is shameful, as you know. Today, you will likely continue to breach a due process and carry out the predetermined decision to terminate another colleague of mine. I pray that you do not. Will is a professional, and he's incredibly intelligent. He has an amazing family who do not deserve this type of treatment. Since being put on unpaid leave, he has shown incredible adaptability and fortitude by figuring out ways to feed his wife and kids. To fire Will be an incredible display of ineptitude by the chief and the commission. The commission has been presented with a preponderance of data that prove that those being terminated are no more a threat to the public than any other employees who have accepted the COVID-19 shots. There have been logical and factual arguments provided to Nicholson and the commission that detail how accommodations could have been provided to these firefighters, thus mitigating this charade. There's no excuse for this to continue. This shallow and baseless procedure of firing faithful and professional firefighters is not simply considered disgraceful anymore. It is sinister and is clearly driven by incompetence, laziness, motives of power, or some other form of darkness. Unfortunately, bad news and bad deeds don't get better with time. I suggest all members involved, including staff and council, check the integrity of their personal moral compasses and decide how you would want to be seen when the data that has been presented to you over the past few weeks becomes mainstream. Take a look outside of your microscope with which you view the city of San Francisco and your positions as chief, commissioner, secretary, or counselor. If you are being pressured to do the wrong thing with these terminations, I ask that you pick yourself up and change course. You may find that though it may induce a bit of fear, the act of doing the just thing may far outshine that fear. Prayers will continue
Your
to
time
come
is
your
up,
way.
sir. Thank you. Caller, would you like to make public comment?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Your time starts now.
Christopher Salas, prematurely retired firefighter, Station 3, San Francisco. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. I just want to revisit some of the numbers thrown out yesterday by Mr. Yan at the end of firefighter Lindsay's kangaroo hearing yesterday to try and shame firefighter Lindsay for not getting vaccinated. Sadly, Mr. Yan mentioned 839 COVID deaths in San Francisco out of 132,000 cases in a city of 833,255 people. Those that passed and those that caught COVID were counted over a 2-year period. Doing the math, we get a total of 15% of the city and county of San Francisco that caught COVID over 2 years, and a mortality rate of 0.006%, which gives us a survival rate of 99.994%. These are not pandemic numbers. As anti-mandate firefighters, we have a slogan. We've been awake. Good Lord willing, all of you will wake up soon and invite all of the unjustly terminated firefighters back to work, as well as those of us that have prematurely retired and wish to come back. We will hope and pray that you all awake soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller, would you like to make public comment?
Yes.
Your time starts now.
Each and every one of these firefighters that you have put through this ridiculous and unjust process are the true heroes. They aren't letting money, their ego, or pressure dictate their inner truth. Every member of this commission, what is your inner truth? Are you actually doing what you think is right? After hearing all of these commission hearings, it seems evident to me that you're holding on so tight to such limited and biased information. What is actually said as you hide your conversations through your closed deliberations? These firefighters know the truth, that your mandates are illegal, unjust, and not proven to be safe or effective. If you really want to do something for the public health of San Francisco, vulnerable populations, and the entire San Francisco Fire Department, then let these firefighters do their jobs, which they love and hold and honor with dignity and respect. Uplift the morale of the entire San Francisco Fire Department. How do you think the currently employed firefighters feel to be demanded to be boosted and then harassed and silenced when trying to defend their personal medical freedom and health? What quality of service are they able to provide when you keep acting like dictators of their personal health? You might want to consider doing something that actually benefits firefighters, such as admitting your overreach and let them back to work like every other county in the Bay Area. It's never too late to admit you're wrong and to find solutions for these firefighters. The time is now. We know you keep resisting, but we won't give up. You will keep hearing our truth.
Is that the end of public comment for you? Caller, would you like to make public comment? Caller, would you like to make public comment?
Yes, I would.
Your time starts now.
I've watched all of the commission hearings thus far, and now I have fully come to the conclusion that there is a level of conspiracy going on here. After firefighter Lindsay's termination, not one commissioner spoke up, asked questions, dove into real accommodations, real fact-finding, real solutions to this problem. You just let Attorney Yan speak and regurgitate a health order in one direction, which clearly has an avenue for everybody to continue to work, which has been working for the 18 months in the entire pandemic when there was no vaccine. Your level of conspiracy is now very broad and in everyone's public view. So I ask everybody to spread the word, of what's going on here, and the investigation will hopefully turn out to be true. Thank you.
Caller, would you like to make public comment?
Yes, I would. Could you hear me?
Your time starts now.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Sorry, I don't have anything prepared. Anyway, I just want to say it's been very confusing to me. Yesterday, the chief was on record saying that she couldn't have unvaccinated back because of the health order, the general order, and because she's not comfortable with unvaccinated people. These are quotes working in her fire department. She also said that yesterday that she consulted specialists and doctors, her command staff, HR, and city attorneys. When all the other prior commission hearings, she never mentioned any doctors or any special experts. The defense in these have had expert witnesses who asked scientific questions and answered in their scientific knowledge. And the city attorney's cross-examination was very telling. He's a brilliant man who started bringing up blog posts about, is the guy a conspiracy theorist? Because the science cannot be argued. The surgeon, these are quotes. Here's a professor from Harvard. The bottom line is that these vaccines do not prevent transmission. Here's another infectious disease epidemiologist. It is really not logical to use these vaccines to protect other people. I don't think they should be forced on the understanding simply because this vaccine does not prevent transmission. Yesterday, or whenever you guys fired Jessica, great job, by the way, I read quotes from the CDC director, from Anthony Fauci. Here's another one from Oxford. We don't have anything that will stop transmission. So I think we're in a situation. Okay, he goes on. Dr. Jay Bhattaria, who is at Stanford, says, based on the analysis of existing medical
Time is up, sir. Thank you. And that is the end of public comment.
All right, then. Public comment will be closed, and we will commence with the hearing. As I mentioned before, the first thing we have to determine is whether or not this hearing will be conducted in open session or closed session. And Ms. Gibson, I don't know if you would like to answer for your client, or I think perhaps your client should answer for himself. He has the right.
We already selected the open hearing during the case management conference. I'm sure everyone's aware, correct?
I just wanted to make sure that he was aware that firefighter Amalu was aware that he has that right. And sir, is it your desire to proceed in open session?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you. That's all I need to know, and that's how we will proceed. Thank you. The one exception to that, if it comes up, it has not yet in a hearing that we've conducted. Technically, Section 7D of the rules allows the commission to hold some or all of the hearing, which won't be applicable here, in closed session if reasons such as third-party privacy rights or disclosure of certain information that cannot be disclosed or disclosure is prohibited by law, then we will cross that bridge should we come to it. As I said, we have not had that issue in any other case, but I'm just making everybody aware of that. And let me just ask, does the city have any, the department have any opposition to proceeding in open session?
The city does not.
All right. And I think we need a vote on this, Madam Secretary.
A vote on what?
That the hearing will be held in open session?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
Very good.
No
And I will say we will defer to the end whether or not deliberations will take place in open or closed hearing. And that'll be at the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of this hearing. Just to give an overview, which I know I think almost everybody has already heard, but I have an obligation to share it. Each party has the right to present an opening statement of 5 minutes. And the department bears the burden of proof, so we'll go first, as they will, in terms of presenting their evidence. And then the member has the option of either immediately giving his opening statement or waiting until the conclusion of the city's case and presenting opening statement. And that's your decision and your right. Either way is just fine. The department will then present its evidentiary case. Then the member will present his evidentiary case. At the conclusion of that, the department does have the ability to present any rebuttal evidence. When a witness, after a witness has completed their direct examination, the opposing party has the right to cross-examine them. Then at the end of the evidentiary portion, each side will have 5 minutes for closing argument. The city goes first, and then the member goes second, and then if the city has remaining time, can use that time for rebuttal argument. I want to say, we've allocated time for the evidentiary phase of the hearing, and your time runs anytime you are questioning a witness, but it is up to you to determine how much time to use. And Ms. Conifrey, our secretary, will be keeping track of the time. She has a clock there that I believe is visible to everybody. In terms of objections throughout the hearing, if a party has an objection to testimony or other evidence being offered, the party should make that objection, state the grounds for the objection. I will then seek a response from the opposing party and make a determination as to sustain the objection. If I sustain an objection, it means the witness will not answer the question. If I overrule an objection, the witness will answer the question. It's important to keep in mind a couple of things. One, we have a certified court reporter who is recording, and will create a transcript of these proceedings. Please be mindful, if you are reading something, that you need to read more slowly. And the court reporter can only use her fingers as fast as she can. So just be a little mindful of her. If any of the parties need to take a recess at any point, please let me know. Obviously, that should not take place in the middle of a direct or a cross-examination, but after one or the other. I also have been trained well by court reporters that they need to have a break every hour and 15 minutes to hour and a half. Am I correct, Ms. Stark?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I thought I was. but I wasn't sure. And so I will be doing that because she is paying attention to every word that's being said. And then I'm not sure, we haven't taken the member's plea yet, but are there any other preliminary issues we need to address?
Yes, there are a couple.
All right, Ms. Gibson.
I reviewed the order yesterday from you, Commissioner, about not being permitted to have Dr. Michael Yeadon testify and give live testimony today. But in lieu of that, you did say that the transcript would be admitted from the former Cricken hearing. So I want to make sure that before we get started, that we agree that we can submit that part of the Cricken transcript into evidence. And there's one other issue there. During Dr. Yeadon's testimony, he authenticated his CV, which is an exhibit both in the hearing today and also in Cricken's. He authenticated that document during the Cricken hearing. It's the same exact document. So I want to make sure that, without having him here to testify, even though the Bates numbers are obviously going to be different, that we can agree that his CV will be admitted into evidence.
All right, Ms. Stoughton, do you have any objection to that?
No objection.
Yeah, that would be my inclination. And, unless Mr. Eden has examined your client or reviewed his medical records, it seems that the transcript of his prior testimony should be sufficiently helpful to the commission. All the commissioners have the transcript, as do counsel. And in terms of the CV, it makes sense. Of course, he did. I was there, so he did authenticate it, and it too will be admitted.
Okay, thank you. I also have an objection to the determination in terms of not permitting him to testify today, but that can wait, I think, until we bring our case following the city's case.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other, Ms. Stoughton, do you have any preliminary matters?
No, nothing from the city.
Okay, so no more preliminary matters. Under Rule 11A of the procedural rules, we are required to take the member's plea. And does the member agree or disagree with the chief's stated reasons for requesting dismissal?
Disagree.
Very good. That shall be entered as the member's plea. And I think that...
I'm sorry. There is one more issue in light of what you just said regarding the court reporter. Just as last time during the Cricken hearing, I would request an additional 2 minutes, and that we have no issue with the city also taking an additional 2 minutes on opening statements so as to not have to speed through the opening statement.
All right, Ms. Stoughton, response?
I understood that the commission already ruled on the request for additional time. I guess I don't have any objection if they're asking for more additional time at this point in time. But I just want to get clarity if we're talking about extra time on top of the extra time the commission has already granted, or is this part of the extra 60 minutes?
That's a good question. I'm not quite sure 2 minutes matters that much one way or the other. I'm inclined to give both sides 2 extra minutes in terms of opening. I just don't see that as a major issue. And the extra time was granted. So anything else, Ms. Gibson?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stoughton?
No, nothing further from me.
Okay, I think then we're ready to proceed. So, Ms. Stoughton, you will begin with your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, or good afternoon, actually, commissioners. The question before you today is whether to uphold the chief's recommendation for a non-disciplinary separation for firefighter paramedic William Amalu for his failure to comply with the vaccination requirement of the city's health order, as well as General Order 21A-70. The health order was issued by the city's health officer under her authority under law to address the COVID-19 pandemic. Together, the health order and general order require employees such as firefighter paramedic Amalu, who may enter or work in high-risk settings, to be fully vaccinated by October 13th, 2021, unless they received an approved exemption due to a disability or sincerely held religious belief. Personal beliefs were not permitted under the health order. The health order cautioned, though, that there were some instances where an unvaccinated employee could not be accommodated to work in a high-risk setting, even if they otherwise qualified for an exemption, and could be masked at all times and undergo weekly testing. The health order laid out the factors for employers to consider when determining whether it was possible to safely accommodate unvaccinated employees who may enter or work in high-risk settings. The first one of those was whether the unvaccinated employee will place other people at risk of the transmission of COVID-19 because they are required to come into contact, including on an emergency basis, with other employees or with people whose vaccination status is unknown, who are not yet eligible for the vaccine, or who are members of a vulnerable population. And this includes the elderly, incarcerated people, and acute care patients. Another factor laid out in the health order was whether the government entity can ensure compliance with the mask mandate whenever the unvaccinated employee is around other people in the workplace. Another factor laid out in the health order is whether the proposed accommodation imposes an undue burden because it is costly, it infringes on other personnel's job rights or benefits, it compromises workplace safety, it decreases workplace efficiency, or it requires other employees to do more than their share of potentially hazardous or burdensome work. Under those guidelines from the health order, the chief of the department determined that even if an employee could establish that they had a sincerely held religious belief or a disability that prevented them from getting the COVID vaccine, the department could not accommodate them because of the heightened risk to the public and to the other departmental employees. Now, the facts before the fire commissioner are undisputed. The health order and general order requires firefighter paramedic Amalu to be vaccinated unless he had a valid exemption. The department did not grant firefighter paramedic Amalu an exception. Firefighter paramedic Amalu was not vaccinated as required by the health order by October 13th, 2021. It is undisputed then that firefighter paramedic Amalu did not comply with the health order or with General Order 21A-70. Now, the validity of the health order is not at issue in these proceedings. The health officer issued the order pursuant to the authority and mandates in the California Health and Safety Code. Neither the San Francisco Fire Department nor the Fire Commission have the jurisdiction or authority to overrule or change the health order's mandate. The health order clearly sets forth the definition of fully vaccinated, what it means to work in a high-risk setting, and that employees who work in these high-risk settings must be fully vaccinated absent an approved exemption. The health order also clearly sets forth the parameters of when employers may not be able to accommodate unvaccinated employees. Firefighter Amalu's disagreement with the science and public health policy underlying the health officer's orders are beyond the jurisdiction of the Fire Commission to adjudicate. Despite being aware of his obligation to comply with the health order and general order and the consequences of not being vaccinated, firefighter paramedic Amalu made the decision to remain unvaccinated. Therefore, the Fire Commission should uphold the chief's recommendation of a non-disciplinary separation to ensure the department's continued compliance with the health order and to protect the health and safety of the public that the department serves as well as the city's workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stoughton. Let me now inquire of Ms. Gibson. Do you wish to make your opening statement now, or would you like to reserve until conclusion of the evidentiary part of the department?
I'll make it now.
All right, please proceed.
There is one overriding requirement which drives the city and county of San Francisco bureaucrats: the need for employees to obey its wishes. The city issues rules, orders, and requirements from its offices, and the people who perform the city's work simply must do what they are ordered to do, when ordered, without question and without independent thought. The department and Chief Nicholson seem unaware of the observation made by Albert Einstein many years ago. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. The city and county of San Francisco and its agencies, here the San Francisco Fire Department, issued orders, deadlines, and requirements on an almost weekly or monthly basis after the pandemic emergency was declared by Governor Newsom. The order to the city and county here is called the Order of the Health Officer of the City and County of San Francisco, encouraging COVID-19 coverage and reducing disease risks. This order was first made on June 11th of 2021 and updated 2 or 3 times a month, each month through October 13th of 2021. The order is approximately 35 single-spaced pages in length. A definition which partially defines compliance with the order states as follows: fully vaccinated and full vaccination means 2 weeks after completing the entire recommended series of vaccination, usually 1 or 2 doses, with a vaccine authorized to prevent COVID-19 by the FDA, including by way of an emergency use authorization or by the World Health Organization. In addition, the order provides the following: all provisions of this order must be interpreted to effectuate the purposes and intent of this order. The fire department required compliance with the entire order. The fire department is relying upon the language of the order to terminate firefighter Amalu from his career with the department. The fire department misunderstands the order being relied upon. The language of the order cannot be used to terminate firefighter Amalu. Why is that? Firefighter Amalu can only be terminated if he failed to comply with the intent of the order. The primary intent of the order, as stated, was to continue to protect the community and employees from contracting COVID-19, and also to increase vaccination to reduce transmission of COVID-19 long-term so that the whole community is safer and the COVID-19 health emergency can come to an end. According to the terms of the health order, all provisions of the order must be interpreted to effectuate the purposes and intent of the order. Firefighter Amalu is ready today and has always been ready to comply with the order. Unfortunately, the intent of the health order cannot be met by way of vaccination. As Mr. Amalu knows, based on his own personal experience, as well as what our expert, Dr. Mike Yeaton, has testified to, none of the available COVID-19 vaccines prevent the infection or transmissibility of COVID-19. Therefore, vaccination does not serve the intent and purpose of the health order. Now, the department will no doubt attempt to take the position that because examples are provided for in the definition of fully vaccinated, those examples would comply with the health order. However, it is clear that those examples do nothing to change its meaning. By analogy, if I were to order an employee to bring me a pen with ink in it, with the stated purpose that I wanted to write a letter with a pen, and I provided examples of a Bic, a Sharpie, or a Papermate as ways to comply, if the employee came back with a Bic with no ink in it, and I couldn't write my letter, that wouldn't be following the order that I gave. And it would also not serve the purpose that I had intended to achieve. The same is true here. None of the examples provided in the health order prevent COVID-19, and none of them serve the purpose or intent of stopping the spread of COVID-19. Consequently, what the department has done is set up a situation where there are no pens with ink in existence, and yet They demand that these firefighters bring them one that will allow them to write. It's impossible. At the time that these firefighters, at the time of the order and at any time thereafter, there has never been a vaccine that prevents COVID-19. All of us, including the doctor who wrote the order, and probably even the department, hoped that a vaccine that prevented COVID-19 would be developed. Unfortunately, that never happened. More importantly, the health order at issue never references hope. It is black and white and as clear as it could possibly be. Right now, people who are vaccinated become infected with COVID-19. The evidence will show Chief Nicholson was vaccinated and contracted COVID-19 in 2021. The San Francisco Fire Department was 100% vaccinated as of October 15, 2021. Yet from December through January of 2022, hundreds of workers' compensation claims were made for San Francisco firefighters out sick with COVID-19. An entire station had to be shut down for a day because so many firefighters were out with COVID after they were all vaccinated. Once again, as of today, it is impossible to become vaccinated with a vaccine that prevents COVID-19. The department and Chief Nicholson were aware of that fact last year. It is wrong and unjustified to try and terminate firefighter Amalu because he has not yet done what it is not possible to do. He cannot possibly comply with the intent of the health order, which is to protect the community from being infected with COVID-19 by taking a vaccination. A vaccine that not only, that just doesn't prevent infection. As a condition of Mr. Amalu's employment, the department required that Mr. Amalu must take a COVID-19 vaccine for the expressly stated purpose of protecting the community. And at the time that the order was drafted, maybe the health officer believed that these vaccines actually would stop transmission, but it became obvious in 21 that they do not. Today, the department is trying to terminate firefighter Amalu because he is allegedly not complying with the terms of an order which requires him to inject himself with a substance that does not exist. The department may wish the language of the order was different, but the health order doesn't reference his wishes. And it certainly does not confer a right to end Mr. Amalu's career as a San Francisco firefighter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Let me just check in with our court reporter. Ms. Stark, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. We can keep going. That's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Actually, President Feinstein, may I have just a quick 2-minute break before we start?
Sorry, is that Ms. Gibson speaking?
No, it's Ms. Stoughton.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yes. But I don't do 2 minutes. I do 5 minutes.
I'll take 5 then.
Ever happens in 2 minutes. So yes, we will. I show that it's 2:19, and we will reconvene at 2:25.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I believe we are waiting for Firefighter Rollins.
That's Adam Wood.
I'm sorry.
On Floyd Rollins.
I knew that. Thank you, Chief. Yes. He just keeps appearing here as Floyd Rollins, and I know he didn't want to be Floyd Rollins today. He wanted to be Adam Wood, so my apologies. Shall we proceed? Let's proceed. Ms. Gibson, are you fine with that?
I don't have any objections to proceeding.
There we go. We've got him. We got him back. He was rescued. Okay. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. This is the quietest that Firefighter Woods is ever going to be.
Adam, are you ready to go? Adam, you ready to go?
Okay. All right. If the department would please call its first witness.
The department calls Chief of the Department, Jeannie Nicholson.
All right. I am here, ready to be sworn in.
All right, Madam Court Reporter, if you'd kindly swear in the chief.
Raise your right hand, please, Chief.
Yes,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this matter?
I do.
Thank you very much. Go ahead with your examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chief. Can you state and spell your name for the record?
Janine Nicholson, JeanieNichholson. Nicholson.
And what is your current job title?
Chief of the San Francisco Fire Department.
And how long have you been chief of the department?
2 years and 10 months.
Not that you're counting. Do you have can you give us a quick overview of what your job duties are as the chief of the department?
Yes, I oversee the operations and the administration of the department in order that we carry out our mission of protecting lives and property.
Chief, can you turn to City Exhibit 1? And it's directly to Bates number SFFD Amalu 0007.
Okay.
Chief, do you recognize this document?
Yes, this is the order that the health officer for the city and county of San Francisco put out regarding COVID-19 vaccine.
And in your job duties as the chief of the department, did you review this document?
Yes, I did.
And what did you understand the department's obligations to be under the health order?
That all of our members had to be what is considered fully vaccinated 2 weeks prior to October 13th, 2021. And it states in here what fully vaccinated means.
Chief, is the department required to comply with the health order?
Yes, we are.
Is the department permitted to ignore any portion of the health order?
No.
You just touched on this a little bit, but did the health order define what it means to be fully vaccinated?
Yes.
Okay, still looking at City Exhibit 6. Can you turn to Bates number 0009?
Okay, I think it's City Exhibit 1 and it's Bates 9, yes.
It is, thank you. Do you see subsection K there at the bottom of the page?
Yes, fully vaccinated.
Is this the definition of fully vaccinated that you relied on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Does the definition of fully vaccinated in the health order include vaccines granted emergency use authorization by the FDA?
Yes.
Does it include vaccines granted emergency use authorization by the World Health Organization?
Yes.
Does the health order provide a link to the FDA website where anyone could look up which vaccines it was referring to?
It does.
Okay. Did the health order state that the FDA had granted full approval for the Pfizer vaccine effective August 23rd, 2021?
Yes.
Did the department rely on the health order's definition to determine what it meant for an employee to be fully vaccinated?
We did.
Did the health order mandate certain rules for employees who have to enter high-risk settings?
Yes.
Okay, Chief, and now still looking at City Exhibit 1, if you can turn to Bates number 0018.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm direct your attention to section 6 here that's entitled Vaccination Requirements for Personnel in High-Risk Settings and Other Healthcare Personnel. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. Are these the health order rules that you relied on when determining the rules for employees who enter high-risk settings?
Yes.
Did you determine that firefighter paramedic Amalu fell under the definition of an employee who works in a high-risk setting?
Yes.
Is there any way the department could guarantee that a firefighter or a paramedic could not enter a high-risk setting?
No, it's part of the job description and our job duties.
In your view, as chief of the department, would it endanger department operations if you had to assign firefighters to emergencies based on vaccination status?
Yes, it would be logistically and operationally not sustainable.
And can you explain to us why?
I can't direct firefighters to isolate themselves and not go into a particular call when we're dealing with a member of the public or a vulnerable person. They expect us to show up with a full crew to do everything we can do to take care of them. So I can't leave half the crew outside.
In your view, as the chief of the department, can firefighter paramedic Amalu perform the essential functions of his position if he is not permitted to enter high-risk settings?
He cannot.
Did the health order permit exemptions to the vaccination requirement?
It did for disability or sincerely held religious belief.
And did the health order contain guidance about whether and how employers could accommodate unvaccinated employees in high-risk settings?
It did.
Okay. And did you rely on those provisions of the health order when determining whether you could accommodate unvaccinated employees?
I did.
Okay. And Chief, still looking at City Exhibit 1, turning now to Bates number 0019.
Okay.
Looking down at the bottom of the page here, the last sentence says, with the subsection A, do you see that?
I do.
Okay, and turning the page to B, C, and D on Bates number 0020.
Yes, I see that.
Okay. Did you consider these factors when determining whether you could accommodate unvaccinated employees?
Yes, these were the minimum factors that I considered.
Okay. Did the health order set minimum standards for when a employer could accommodate unvaccinated employees?
It did.
And what was that?
Well, it's listed here under A, B, C, and D, if that's what you mean.
Let me ask it a different way. Did the health order say that the minimum safety requirements for unvaccinated employees would be regular testing and masking?
Yes.
Okay. And did you determine whether that was sufficient to protect the public and other employees.
It was not sufficient.
Okay. Do firefighters, such as firefighter paramedic Amalu, are they required to come into contact with persons whose vaccination status is unknown?
Yes.
Are they required to come into contact with persons who are not yet eligible for the vaccine?
Yes.
Are they required to come into contact with members of vulnerable populations?
Yes.
Okay. Do they regularly come into contact with elderly individuals?
Certainly.
Okay. Do they regularly come into contact with incarcerated people?
We do sometimes.
Okay. And do they come into contact with acute care patients?
Yes, we do sometimes.
Okay. Would the department be able to ensure compliance with the mask mandate whenever firefighters are around other people in the workplace?
No, that would be impossible to do.
Okay. And why is that?
We sleep at our fire stations. We eat at our fire stations. And there is, it's tough to eat with a mask on, and there's no way of, checking if somebody's wearing their mask when they're sleeping. And, it is my job to protect the health and safety of the public that we serve, as well as our own employees. And we wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay. Chief, can you describe to us the sleeping arrangements for firefighters?
Yes, it can vary whether someone's at, one station or another, or the airport. But there is a large, typically in the city, there's a large dorm room that everyone would sleep in together, or the firefighters would sleep in together.
Okay. Do firefighters typically eat together for meals at station houses?
Yes.
Okay. And do firefighters typically shower while they're at station houses?
I'm just going to make an objection for the record to this line of questioning. We aren't bringing any FEHA related issues here today, so my objection is to relevance.
All right, that's overruled. You may proceed, Ms. Stoughton.
Yes, our members may shower at the fire station and do.
Okay. And do you believe that firefighters can keep their masks on at all times while eating, showering, and sleeping?
No, and it would be impossible to guarantee that.
Did you have any role in analyzing whether a firefighter had a sincerely held religious belief that conflicted with their requirement to get vaccinated?
I had no role in determining that.
Since this particular health order has issued, has the health officer issued new health orders?
It has been updated frequently.
And are employees who enter high-risk settings still required to be fully vaccinated in those amended orders?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any additional requirements for employees who enter high-risk settings?
Yes, there is a booster requirement as well.
Okay. Chief, if you can turn to City Exhibit 1, Bates number 0043.
I see it.
Okay. Looking at Bates number 0045, is that your signature?
0045, that is my signature, yes.
Okay, and can you tell us what this document is?
This was a general order that I signed last August, spelling out our vaccination policy, our mandatory vaccination status reporting, and the vaccination mandates and timeline for the members of our department.
Okay. Are employees required to comply with general orders?
Yes.
Are employees required to be familiar with general orders?
Yes.
How was this general order distributed?
In several different ways. It came out through my office directly to the field, down the chain of command. It came out on human resources management system, would show up on every single employee's front page when they click on or enter their human resources page. It was sent out to fire stations, and yeah, so there are a multitude of ways it's distributed.
Chief, looking at Bates number 0044, still of that same document.
Yes.
Can you tell us what rank firefighter paramedic Amalu is?
He is an H3.
Okay. And so would this general order requirement to be fully vaccinated apply to him?
Yes, it would. You can see it under number 2 on page 0044. All members in the following ranks, and that includes the H3 rank.
Did firefighter paramedic Amalu comply with the general order?
He did not.
Okay. Did the department take any other steps to notify employees of their obligation to be fully vaccinated?
We did. We sent emails. We sent letters through snail mail, if you will. We also brought members in to have a conversation with somebody at headquarters, and we also made phone calls to those members.
Okay, Chief, still looking at City Exhibit 1, can you turn to Bates number 0004?
Okay.
Do you recognize this document?
I do. This was sent. This was sent to firefighter paramedic Amalu, letting him know that he had not met the vaccination requirement, and you know, that we had an agreement with the city and local, or the city and local 798 had an agreement, and that, you know, what the outcome, what the consequences of that are if you don't receive your final dose by October 13th, 2021, what the next steps would be.
Chief, and is this your signature on that document?
It is.
Did this document notify firefighter paramedic Amalu that he would be subject to a non-disciplinary separation if he was not vaccinated by October 13th, 2021?
Yes, it did.
Did firefighter paramedic Amalu comply with the health orders vaccination?
No, he did not comply with the vaccination requirement.
And how do you know that?
So we, my staff can run a report in People and Pay where we can determine who is not vaccinated, and he shows up as not vaccinated in that report.
Chief, still in City Exhibit 1, if you can turn to Bates number 0005.
Yes.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, this was sent to firefighter paramedic Amalu. It was a notice of non-disciplinary separation. And you can see below in the little rectangular there, that is what I was talking about, the report that was run for People and Pay, and it states that he is not vaccinated.
Does that mean that firefighter paramedic Amalu reported that he himself was not vaccinated?
Correct.
Did you provide firefighter Amalu the opportunity to appear at an administrative meeting?
I did.
Okay. Did you permit firefighter Amalu to present any documents he wanted to at that point in time?
Yes.
Did you permit firefighter paramedic Amalu to address the recommendation of a non-disciplinary separation?
Yes.
Okay. Following that administrative meeting, did you place Firefighter Amalu on unpaid leave?
Yes.
Okay. Chief, now turning to City Exhibit 3,
Okay.
case numbers 0070 and 0071.
I see it.
Okay, can you tell us what this document is?
This is an agreement between the City and County of San Francisco's Department of Human Resources and Local 798 San Francisco Firefighters Union about the COVID vaccinations and steps that we would follow for those that were not vaccinated.
Okay, and did the department follow the procedures set forth in this agreement for
Yes.
paramedic Amalu?
Yes, we did.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Stoughton, cross-examination?
Yes. Good afternoon, Chief Nicholson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gibson.
Now, are you a medical doctor?
I am not.
Do you have any advanced degrees in public health?
I do not, but I have plenty of experts. I know have access to plenty of experts who do.
When was the last time that you consulted with one of them?
Actually, I just spoke to one of them today.
And was that in preparation for today's hearing?
No.
What was the name of the medical expert that you spoke to today?
Objection relevant. She just testified it had nothing to do with this hearing.
That's sustained.
When was the last time that you spoke with any medical expert that had anything to do with today's hearing?
I don't recall the date.
Have you taken any medication this morning that would impact your ability or your memory to testify today?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Is there any reason why you can't remember when the last time was that you spoke with somebody with an advanced health degree about the order that you're using to terminate Mr. Amalu?
Yes, I can say that I have an incredibly busy schedule. It's packed, and I often go from meeting to meeting, and so I don't remember, necessarily when I spoke to someone.
Think that it's not important enough to remember the last time that you spoke with a health expert, even though you're
I'm going to
terminating
object. This is harassment.
Is sustained.
And do you have any experience at all in working with a pharmaceutical company in the past?
I do not.
I want to look at the binder for Amalu's exhibits here, and we're going to be looking at the exhibit tab number 5.
Okay, let me open it.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's number 11.
Exhibit 11? Okay.
Yeah, and if it helps you, the bake stamp number is 158, if you're just reading the last 3 numbers.
Yeah, no, I see it. It's just a little cumbersome in this binder here, so it will take me a second to get to it. Okay, Exhibit 11, I have it here.
Okay, now this is a document dated November 3rd, 2021. It is a 2-page document, dates numbered 158 through 159. And that is your signature there on the 2nd page. Is that correct?
Yes, Ms. Gibson, it is.
Okay. Now, in this letter, you've noted 3 reasons for Mr. Amalu's separation from his civil service position. Is that correct?
I'd have to read it again, but yes, it does state why we are recommending this.
Okay. Were there any other reasons besides the ones that you've listed in your letter dated November 3rd of 2021 why Mr. Amalu was going to be separated from his permanent civil service position?
He did not comply with the general order or the health order after being given an opportunity to do so and having explained to him numerous times sort of what could happen if he did not.
So both of those reasons are set forth in this November 3rd, 2021 correspondence. What I want to understand is if there's any other reason that you didn't mention in this letter with respect to why Mr. Amalu is facing non-disciplinary termination.
No, I would say no. It's based on his non-compliance with the requirement.
Okay, so getting back to the health order C19-07 updated, that's Exhibit 1 in the Amalu binder. Now, you did not personally provide this health order, and I'm going to refer to it as the health order for ease of reference, to Mr. Amalu, did you?
Not personally, no.
Okay,
but
and
it was made accessible to everyone in the department.
And how do you know that?
It's a public document.
Okay, and you did not personally provide General Order A70 to Firefighter Amalu, did you?
So it was provided to him under my order.
And what do you mean by that?
So we're talking about the general order?
General Order A70.
Yes. So as I stated earlier, it was provided to him on his human resources page that he's required to open up and check. And during the course of his work, and it's right there on the front page.
Do you have any personal knowledge that anybody ever physically handed Mr. Amalu Order A70, General Order A70?
I don't personally know.
When did you first learn that you'd be testifying at today's hearing?
I don't remember the date, but it's been, yeah, I really don't remember the date. I'm sorry.
Do you have any estimate? It doesn't need to be exact, but an approximation?
It's within the last couple of months that, since we set the dates for this hearing.
All right, so between the dates, whenever that was, that you learned about today's hearing and right now, today, what, if anything, did you do in order to prepare for today's hearing?
I'm going to object to the extent that this calls for attorney-client privileged or work product information.
I'll sustain that objection. And if you want to rephrase, Ms. Gibson, you can.
It's the exact same question. I'm not asking for any privileged information or any work product.
Yeah, but I'm just going to say, in terms of the use of time, the chief did not participate in the case management conference on this matter. I did, and others did, and dates were set. The chief would have no way of knowing when the dates were set. And so it just seems like we're going down a rabbit hole here that doesn't really, at least from what I can see, really tie anything together. So if you want to take another stab at trying to make that relevant, that's fine. But the chief did not participate in the case management conference, as did I, to determine when we were going to have this hearing.
So that's not my question at all. That has nothing to do with my question. My question is what the chief has done, if anything, in order to prepare for today's hearing, regardless of when the case management conference was. That's just not relevant to my question at all. And I'm not asking for anything privileged, and I'm not asking for any work product.
Yeah, it's attorney-client privilege, and so that's what I'm going to say.
And that objection is sustained.
Okay. Now, Chief Nicholson, did you read the order of the health officer? And that's the I'm referring to it as the health order. And with all of its appendices that went into effect as of October 13th of 2021?
Yes, I have read over it.
Okay. When was the last time that you read it?
I don't remember.
Can you estimate as to when it was?
I really can't. I don't remember.
Were you careful when you read it to read and understand each line of the 35 single-space pages?
For things that I did not understand, I reached out to experts that did understand it.
Were any of those experts that you reached out to non-attorneys?
Yes.
And what were their names?
I would say Deputy Chief Jose Velo would be one of them. He was the Deputy Chief of Administration last year. And I don't remember who else.
Okay, so he's the only person that you can remember sitting here today.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. What was your understanding of what the intent of the health order is?
The health and safety of the entire public.
Was it your understanding that the intent of the health order was to help stop the spread of COVID-19?
To help stop it or help slow it? Yes.
Okay. And were you also, did you have the opportunity to read General Order A70?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was the last time you read it?
I don't recall.
And were you careful to read all of it and understand each of the 3 single-space pages of the General Order?
Yes.
And was it your view that Firefighter Amalu could pick and choose which of the requirements set forth in the order of the health officer that he would follow and which ones he wouldn't follow?
Firefighter Paramedic Amalu had to get vaccinated. That was what was required for all of our members, and they had to be fully vaccinated 2 weeks before October 13th, 2021.
So I appreciate your answer, but my question was a little different. I'm asking you whether or not it's your view that Firefighter Amalu could pick and choose which portions of orders he wanted to follow and which ones he couldn't.
He has to follow the order just as I have to follow the order.
And that includes all of the order, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And isn't it true that you wanted Mr. Amalu to comply in full and without deviation from what the 2 orders required? And by the 2 orders, I mean General Order A70 and the health order.
Yes, I wanted him to comply. I wanted all my members to comply for the health and safety of the public we serve, as well as my own employees.
Did you ever personally speak with Mr. Amalu about why he did not wish to be vaccinated with any of the COVID-19 vaccines?
I did not.
Okay. I want to turn to Exhibit 8 and Bates number 72 for a moment.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gibson, the Bates number again. I've got Exhibit 8, but I missed the Bates number.
Last 2 digits, 72.
Thank you. Got it.
So now, this is a 1-page document dated October 8th, 2021. Bates number Amalu 000072. Now, Chief Nicholson, is this your signature on the bottom of the page?
Yes, it is.
And on October 8th of 2021, you sent Mr. Amalu a letter that you signed, and it states that his failure to meet the vaccination requirements of the Order of the Health Officer, number C1907Y updated, would result in non-disciplinary separation from the department. Isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also indicated in the following paragraph there, the health order requires that employees who, in the course of their duties, may enter or work in high-risk settings be fully vaccinated no later than October 13th of 2021, unless they've been approved for an exemption. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. Now, sitting here today, you still believe that Mr. Amalu was not fully vaccinated by October 13th of 2021, and that because of that, he should be forced out of his position as a firefighter with the San Francisco Fire Department. Is that right?
So if he has chosen to not be vaccinated, that is his choice entirely.
So
And it will result in it may result in his being separated, and he has been given every opportunity to comply with the general order and the health order, and he has chosen not to.
Okay, so just to make it really clear, do you still believe that because Mr. Amalu is not vaccinated, that he should no longer be a firefighter with San Francisco?
That is correct.
And it's also true that his alleged failure to be fully vaccinated by October 13th of 2021 is the sole reason that he is now subject to non-disciplinary separation from his position. Is that right?
He did not comply with the health order or the general order as he was instructed to do numerous times. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just to be clear, both those orders require vaccination. I just want to be clear that it's his failure, as you say, to be vaccinated that is the sole reason why he is being subjected right now to termination. Is that right?
I would call it a non-disciplinary separation, and yes.
Okay. And earlier on, when you were testifying on direct, you said that you understood what it meant to be fully vaccinated under the terms of the health order. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not going to go through reading the definition again because you already did that. So I'll just ask you, isn't it true that after October 15th of 2021, 100% of San Francisco's firefighters were fully vaccinated against COVID-19?
Yes, except for those that I sent these separation letters to, and some folks that were on disability and the like.
Let me rephrase. Isn't it true that following October 15th of 2021, all firefighters on active duty were 100% vaccinated?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And you are aware, based on your own personal experience and knowledge, that employees of the San Francisco Fire Department who took the COVID-19 vaccinations, some of them subsequently did become infected with COVID-19, correct?
That is correct.
And in fact, you yourself became infected with COVID-19 after receiving your vaccinations for COVID-19 in approximately December of 2021. Is that correct?
That is correct. Okay, but just to be clear, it wasn't right after I received my vaccine, if that's how you phrased it. So, but yes.
Well, okay. So how long after you received your vaccine was it?
I don't have that in front of me, but it was definitely more than a month.
Okay. And isn't it also true that after October 16th of 2021, San Francisco, the fire department, had so many cases of COVID-19 that it was forced to render at least one station inoperable or browned out for certain periods of time?
So, no, let me explain. There was one apparatus, an engine company, that was browned out one day, but that did not close down that station because there was another apparatus there with firefighters on it. So it was one engine that was, as you said, browned out for the day. And that was the only time that happened.
And that one apparatus was inoperable for the day because there were so many COVID cases. Is that correct?
That was part of the reason, yes, and other forms of leave that our members were on.
Okay. Between December of 2021 and January of 22, you had over 350 workers' compensation claims filed by firefighters. Isn't that right?
We did have over 300, and I would say, yeah, December and January, don't know the exact number, but yes, it was over 300. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And out of all of those claims, isn't it true that the vast majority of those claims were for firefighters who had COVID-19 after the 100% vaccination requirement had been enforced?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And isn't it also true that the number of workers' compensation claims the department received relating to COVID-19 was higher between December of 2021 and January of 2022 than it was before the 100% vaccination requirement went into place in October of 2021?
So, yes, that was higher, but the number of hospitalizations and severe illness was much lower.
All right. So my question is dealing with the number of people who are actually out on a workers' compensation related claim because they either had COVID-19 or were in some way dealing with it. So I just want to make sure that I understand that number was higher post the 100% vaccination requirement between December 2021 and January 2022, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do you have any medical qualifications aside from those of a paramedic?
No.
Do you know whether or not any of the available COVID-19 vaccinations prevent COVID-19?
So I rely on the experts at the Department of Public Health to instruct and determine what it is that we do and the health order. So I do know that although we had more cases due to the high transmission, how transmissible Omicron was, but again, we had fewer people in the hospital, fewer people with significant illness. So I believe that the vaccine was protective in that manner, and that is what I've been told by the health experts that I rely on.
So which health experts are you relying on?
From the Department of Public Health for the City and County of San Francisco.
Right, who might that be?
Well, it would be the health officer, it would be the director of public health, and other physicians and researchers that provide all this information to us.
Do you have the name of one single physician who you've consulted with on the health order?
So, yeah, Dr. Grant Colfax, Dr. Jennifer Brokaw, and I'm not sure who else.
Okay, and I believe you also said that there were scientists or researchers, or both. Can you name any of the scientists or researchers that you've consulted in conjunction with the implementation of the health order?
No, I don't consult with everyone. I have some of my staff consult with some people, and I know that Department of Public Health has a lot of people working for them, and that all that information comes up to Dr. Grant Colfax or Dr. Susan Phillip.
So have you personally had any correspondence with any of the doctors you just mentioned, or are you relying upon your staff to do that for you?
So, sorry, let me just make sure that I get this right. I have spoken directly to the two doctors that I mentioned, yes.
Okay, and what about with respect to the public health officer?
I have been in meetings with her, but not had one-on-one conversation with her.
And do you know what her name is?
Dr. Susan Phillip.
Okay, and is there anybody else who works at the Department of Health or for the or with Susan Phillips that you've spoken with about the general order or the health order?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. I want to look at the health order, and if we turn to Exhibit 1, page 21. Let me know when you get there.
The Bates stamp 21?
Yes.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. So before I get into that, do you understand which document controls between the general order and the health order in the event that there is a conflict between the two?
We make certain that there is not, and we consult with privileged communication to ensure that there is not a conflict.
Okay, so that wasn't my question. Do you understand which document between the two, the general order and the health order, controls in the event that there is a conflict between the two?
Objection lacks foundation that there is a conflict between the two?
If there is a conflict.
Excuse me, I'm going to sustain it based on the fact it's speculative.
Why don't we look at paragraph 11 of page 21, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now if you go down about 2 sentences in the middle of paragraph 11, you see it says there, to the extent that provisions in the orders or directives of the health officer and the mandatory guidance of the state conflict, the more restrictive provisions, i.e. the more protective to public health, apply. In the event of a conflict between provisions of any previously issued health officer order or directive and this order controls over the conflicting provisions of the other health officer order or directive. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you know what the date of your general order was?
It was...
Objection relevance. This is talking about health orders, not the general order. I don't understand how this sentence has anything to do with the general order.
It's a directive.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
It was in August of 2021 that the general order was issued, I believe.
Okay, and so you agree that the general order that you signed preceded the health order on October 13th of 2021, correct?
So the health order was in place in, I believe, June of 2021, and then there have been several different iterations since then. So yes, there's been another update, at least another update to it after I sent that general order out, yes.
Okay, so the last installment or the last amendment to the health order that I have is October 13th of 2021. Do you agree that that date is subsequent to your general order that was made on August 10th of 2021?
Yes, October is after August.
Okay. All right. Do you know who Mark LaCroix is?
Yes.
Is it true that last week you signed an amended complaint recommending non-disciplinary separation for him to take his COVID-19 vaccination, and therein you removed all references to the health order?
I'm not going to comment on other. I'm not going to comment.
The objection is sustained. It's inappropriate for this firefighter's case.
I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Stoughton. Oh, well, let me check in. Madam Court Reporter, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Whoops.
I'm sorry.
I'm fine. I'm fine, thank you. Sorry about that.
All right. Then we will have redirect. Please, Ms. Stoughton, if you have questions.
No redirect for this witness.
All right. Then the witness is excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stoughton, do you have another witness to call?
The city rests its case in chief, subject to rebuttal, but would ask that all of its exhibits be entered into evidence.
All right. And Ms. Gibson, you know these exhibits well. Objections?
No, I have no objection to the exhibits from the city.
All right. So I have exhibits 1, 2, and 3 here, and they will be admitted without objection. Okay. Now let me inquire again, because I know we're going to begin with the member's case. Are you still with us, Madam Court Reporter?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. This is a different system with this one, so it's different. I'm used to holding down the button, but yes, I'm good to keep going. No problem.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. Then we are our members all right?
I would request a brief 3 to 5 minute break.
I'm sorry. I can't. Oh, it's Miss Gibson. Is that you speaking? I'm sorry. I'm looking at a grid here, so forgive me. Is that you? Okay. Let us do that. Why don't we reconvene at 3:30?
Real quick before we go off, Miss Gibson, can you tell me just your order of witnesses so I can have Miss Chu ready whenever you're going to call her?
I don't believe we'll be calling Miss Chu.
Oh, okay, great.
And may I just before we go off the record, maybe my error. I just want to make sure because I now see Firefighter Woods and he has his own name and his own rectangle. I also see Floyd Rollins. Should he be part of this record or not? And I'm not the most computer literate person in the world, but he is appearing on my screen. Not him, but his name and microphone and what have you. And just if you would, let me know I need to make sure that our record is clear as to who is participating. So if you would, I'd appreciate it if you could clarify for me.
Yeah, Commissioner, you can limit it to myself, Adam Wood, as the union representative moving forward.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, and we'll just leave aside the fact that we have a gray box with Floyd Rollins in it.
Well, I can move him out actually as an attendee, if that's helpful.
I mean, it gets a little confusing when you're trying to.
I can move him out to an attendee.
So that would be great if that there's no problem. Am I right, Mr. Woods, with doing that? Mr. Rollins.
No problem at all.
Mr. Rollins will not be participating in this, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for making it clear. I appreciate it. All right. See you in a few minutes.
There we go. Maybe I'm gonna open it.
I believe everybody who was previously present is again present. If anybody believes I'm missing anybody, please let me know. Madam Secretary, do we?
We have everybody present.
All right, very good. Shall we continue? How about it? Okay. Let's get started. Ms. Gibson, are you ready?
I am. I would like to call William Amalu.
All right. Firefighter Amalu, please. If you would kindly raise your right hand and be sworn by the court reporter.
I'm ready.
Okay. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this matter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Court Reporter.
Will you please state your name for the record?
William Charles Amalu, second.
And will you please state your job title?
I'm H3 level 3 firefighter paramedic.
How long have you worked for the City and County of San Francisco Fire Department?
Since 2015, so approximately 7 years.
And during the year 2021, were you working for the San Francisco Fire Department?
Yes.
And were you on active duty?
Yes.
Do you respond to any medical calls in the summer of 2021?
Yes.
And did you ever ask if any of the people you were called to respond to on those medical calls were vaccinated for COVID-19?
No, I do not discriminate against the vaccinated.
And have you had an opportunity to review the order of the health officer number C19-07Y, updated, the last version of which is dated October 13th of 2021?
Yes.
And have you read the definition of fully vaccinated?
Yes.
And do you believe you understand it?
Yeah, I would say I feel that I understand it.
And what do you understand it to mean?
I would say in its truest sense, I understand it to mean that one has completed a dose series of a vaccination series that prevents the acquisition or transmission of the disease, in this case, COVID.
Now, can we please turn to section 6A3 of the health order?
I'm there.
Could you please provide the Bates number, Ms. Gibson?
Sure. So it's going to be Amalu 000013, and we're looking at section 6, Roman numeral little 3. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Amalu, can you please read section 6A3?
Sure.
Slowly, please, Mr. Amalu. Slowly for the court reporter.
For the purposes of this order, personnel who are not permanently stationed or regularly assigned to a high-risk setting, but who in the course of their duties may enter or work in high-risk settings, even on an intermittent or occasional basis, or for short periods of time, are considered to routinely work on site in a high-risk setting. No later than October 13th, 2021, businesses and governmental entities with such personnel are required to 1. Ascertain vaccination status of all such personnel, and 2. Ensure that before entering or working in any high-risk setting, all such personnel are fully vaccinated with any vaccine authorized to prevent COVID-19 by the FDA, including by way of an emergency use authorization or by the World Health Organization, unless exempt under subsection D below.
Okay, you can stop there. Now, based on what you just read there in section 6A3, is there any reason why you would not be able to comply with this provision of the health order?
Yes.
And why is that?
Well, I think it's contained in the spirit of the order itself. I'm unable to follow the health order as it is written. In light of the stated intent and purpose of the health order, and knowing that the vaccine does nothing to reduce transmission, and in fact may increase it, there's no way I can possibly comply with the order as it is written.
Okay. Why is it that you believe that the COVID-19 vaccinations don't reduce the transmission of COVID-19?
I think it's easily observable. Numbers and statistics can be manipulated to show just about anything you want them to show. However, the cities and states with the highest vaccination rates, San Francisco and New York, come to mind, also have the highest COVID case and hospitalization rates, and is the fully vaccinated that comprise the bulk of that data. Furthermore, researchers from the Oxford University Clinical Research Group published their findings in the Lancet back in August 10 of 21. Their findings documented that unvaccinated individuals carry up to about 251 times the viral load when compared to, say, the unvaccinated group. Their conclusion was that the unusually high viral load potentially transformed these vaccinated individuals into pre-symptomatic super spreaders. The conclusion leads to the observable phenomenon, which occurred shortly after the mass vaccination campaigns began. At that time, the hospitals nationwide were virtually empty. The case counts were extraordinarily low. I was a direct witness of this fact. In my 10-year career as a paramedic, I have never seen Bay Area hospitals, especially during flu season, and especially San Francisco hospitals, so empty. During like a normal yearly flu season, especially over the past 10 years of my observation, it was common for ER rooms to be overflowing with sick flu patients, and for hospitals to be struggling to free up hospital rooms for admission of new patients. This is the first time in my career that I've ever seen the need for federal
I'm
funding.
going to object and ask if there's a question. This appears to just be a narrative at this point. I'm going to also object to everything that he purportedly quoted from the Lancet or whatever the document was as being hearsay.
I'm going to sustain your objection in part and overrule it in part. Correct what he's quoting from various publications or something is hearsay. And, if there's a desire to admit them as exhibits, that's one thing. But, what I'm not going to have is little portions of something. In terms of his own opinions, I think that they're admissible. So I overrule your objection to that extent. What his interpretation is, he's free to offer, but not what the scientific journals may say.
I'll continue.
But wait, can I just
let your lawyer ask a question, please?
So Mr. Amalu, just based on your own personal experience, things that you may have saw, heard, seen, observed yourself, is there, you went over some of those reasons, but is there anything else that you have personal knowledge of as to why you believe the COVID-19 vaccinations don't reduce the transmission of COVID-19?
I think, we were required to comply with this order by October 13th of 21. That was the deadline for every member of the department. We had to be fully vaccinated as defined by the health order. I would say if the supposedly scientific logic was correct, after all the unvaccinated members were extricated from the workforce, then case counts should have been virtually eliminated if the vaccine is so successful. This is far from what occurred. Since we were placed on unpaid leave, COVID's been just running through the department, just rampaging. I'd like to remind our fire commission and the members of the public who are listening of the incident in December where our fire chief, Janine Nicholson, went from firehouse to firehouse, judging our Christmas light contest. In violation of the health order and with multiple witnesses and photographic evidence, she neither socially distanced nor wore a mask, even though she was fully vaccinated. Shortly after this visit, And this event, she herself came down with COVID, and multiple members of each house that she visited came down with COVID. I also want to point out that there was a tweet from our mayor, Lyndon Breed, dated 1/7/22, where she stated, quote, "We are still seeing staff out due to COVID, including 184 SFPD members, 140 SFFD members, and 122 muni workers."
Again, I'm going to object to hearsay.
I'm going to admit it for what it's worth.
Thank you.
So I'll overrule the objection. You can continue, sir.
Continuing with the quote, "Thanks to all the frontline workers stepping up to cover shifts and to support our city." You might recall back in September when Mayor Breed was caught alongside BLM founder Alicia Garza in a packed jazz club, the Black Cat, not following her own rules. There wasn't a mask or socially distanced person in sight during that event.
Again, I'm going to object. The question was whether he observed whether COVID vaccines work.
I'm getting to that point.
And we are gone far
I'm going to sustain the objection. So let's return to the question that was posed, please, sir.
I will offer another piece then. So on January 25th of 22, in an internal email from Deputy Chief Thomas O'Connor, he wrote, quote, "To all members, please be advised that there's been a surge in workers' comp claims. From 11/15/21 to 12/15/21, there were 32 50/20s, which are in this case workers' comp claims."
Slow down, please. Slow down, please.
My apologies. Would you like me to restate that?
No, go ahead. Just don't read so fast.
Yes, that's always the problem, and that's why I try to remind people, but we all fall into the same pattern. So if you would just slow down a little, the court reporter will be made much happier. So
I have one. I'm sorry, I have one more request too. If you could just speak a little more loudly, or maybe a little closer as well, closer and more slowly. That would really help me as well. Thank you.
Sure, my apologies. So I'll continue. So from 12/15/21 to 1/15/21. So this is well after the vaccine mandate was put into place and people were getting mass vaccinated. There were 298, in contrast to the original 32 50/20s that were filed. These worker comp claims, while not likely all due to COVID, were being used also for COVID. So I must ask the question, why the huge surge? I find this whole ordeal truly frustrating and really quite unusual. Every fully vaccinated friend or colleague of mine in the department has caught COVID, in some cases twice. Two major examples of this come to mind, and there are many more who are fearful to speak out. I experienced, or I should say one of them experienced two anaphylactic.
I'm going to object again. There's not even a question. He's just reading from a prepared statement. I mean,
I think we need a question, Ms. Gibson.
Right. So my question was about whether or not, based on your own personal experience, you've spoken in some respect to some of this. If there's anything additional to what you've already said, and specific to the San Francisco Fire Department, that leads you to believe that COVID-19 vaccinations don't reduce the transmission of COVID-19.
One of the things I'm trying to articulate here, if I may, is that
sir, I'm sorry, I don't mean you're echoing here, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if there's a way to increase your volume or move closer to the microphone. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we want to make sure we hear everything that you have to say.
Sure. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, yes. Thank you.
Where I'm trying to go with this is that to try to make a statement like that without demonstrable points of reference, it loses its fruit. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that I have observed as a paramedic, but also as a friend and colleague to the people who have lived through these ordeals, horrible adverse reactions to the vaccine. I'll just go ahead and conclude with this. The point I'm trying to make is essentially I have seen multiple examples of this vaccine not being safe, not being effective. And the point I'm trying to drive home here is that if it's ineffective at even stopping transmission, why are we doing this? I'll go ahead and rest it with that.
Okay. What I would like to do is look at the general order, and that is general order number A70. And if we turn to Exhibit 5, and this is, I'll give you the Bates number for reference. It's Amalu 000062.
1 second. All right. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Amalu, are you there? Do you have the exhibit in front of you?
We're looking at now 0007, number 2B.
So this is going to be Exhibit 5, and the Bates number is 000062.
Oh, my apologies. I'm there.
Now, all right. So have you reviewed General Order A70?
Yes.
Okay. And do you understand which order between Order A70 and the health order will control in the event that there are conflicting provisions?
Yes. It's the health order. Yeah, it's the health order because it came after the general order and was more protective under Section 11 of the health order.
Okay. Now, was there any reason that you were prevented, as of 2021, from performing your essential functions as a firefighter? And I'm, of course, speaking before October 13th of 2021.
No.
Right. Is there any conceivable reason that you can think of that would cause the fire department undue hardship if you were to continue working there?
Objection lacks foundation, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Between the dates of June 1st of 2021 and September 13th of 2021, is there any situation that you are aware of wherein you spread COVID-19 to anyone else while on the job as a firefighter?
No.
Okay. And during that same range of dates that I just referenced, were you wearing masks and socially distancing from one another while you were working?
Yes.
And did your presence ever lead to any member of the public contracting COVID-19, as far as you know, while you were at work in the summer of 2021?
No.
And did that ever lead to any other firefighter contracting COVID-19, as far as you know?
No.
Okay. Now, Mr. Amalu, do you want to comply with the health order?
I was perfectly fine. I will say yes. I mean, I was perfectly fine with social distancing and masking, and I was always willing to consider becoming vaccinated if there was a COVID-19 vaccine that actually prevented infection and actually did reduce transmission. But at this point, it hasn't happened yet.
Okay. So are you waiting for a specific type of vaccine to become available?
Yeah, I mean, I realized in 2021 that there was no vaccine that actually prevented COVID or even prevented the transmission or acquisition. That was FDA approved, or really by anyone else.
Did you ever do anything in order to obtain an FDA approved vaccination? And by FDA approved, I mean fully FDA approved.
Yeah, I started asking around by pharmacists. I questioned my own pharmacist and 2 others, and every one of them said that there is no fully FDA approved COVID vaccine on the market. When I questioned them about Comirnaty, the actual FDA approved drug, they said it's not on the market yet.
Did the department, and by the department I mean the San Francisco Fire Department, ever provide you with any information about the risks of taking any of the available COVID-19 vaccinations?
No. Although the department, demanded that I become vaccinated against COVID without even an FDA-approved drug, I was really never provided a fact sheet that is supposed to state the risks and benefits. There was no alternative to vaccination, such as masking or social distancing, and I certainly wasn't provided an option to accept or refuse that vaccination.
Now, has Fire Chief Janine Nicholson ever spoken to you at all about taking the COVID-19 vaccine?
No.
Okay. Now, has someone named Jose Velo at any time ever spoken with you about taking the COVID-19 vaccine?
No.
What about someone named Josh Smith? Is that someone who has spoken with you at any time about the COVID-19 vaccinations?
No.
Has the income that you have received from working for the San Francisco Fire Department as a firefighter been used to support your family?
Objection,
Yes.
relevance.
Sustained.
Okay. Is there any other reason, based on your own personal knowledge, that you have witnessed or borne witness to that would indicate to you that it is dangerous to take any of these COVID-19 vaccinations?
Yes.
What is that?
So I have a number of friends and family members that have taken it. One of those members ended up, basically having 2 anaphylactic reactions. That dude actually got a medical exemption for his issue. The doctor acknowledged that he was having anaphylactic reactions to this vaccine, but the department just told him to kick rocks. They said, if you don't take it, you don't work here anymore. And I don't know if I need to remind the members of the commission, but especially as a paramedic who's treated anaphylaxis, I can tell you anaphylaxis is truly life-threatening. So that's unfortunate. I've also got, friends out here. In fact, there's 2 members of the Boise Fire Department who came down with myocarditis very shortly after taking their vaccine. Both of them were ICU hospitalized. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but the prognosis for long-term life expectancy after having had myocarditis is not very good. After actually seeing...
Please slow down.
My apologies. After seeing tons of examples of this kind of thing happening within my own life and within my own circle, it became very abundantly clear that this was too risky and that my risk of actually having adverse outcome from COVID or even spreading it to anyone was rather limited. It became a clear decision at that point.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
All right, Miss Stoughton, please.
Thank you. Firefighter Amalu, do you live in Boise now?
Objection, relevance.
No, overruled.
Thank you.
Sir, I need you to answer the question, please.
How is there any relevance to this question?
You don't get to ask that question. No, excuse me. An objection was made. I've ruled on the objection. You need to answer the question, sir.
I think this is a situation where I may instruct the witness not to answer because I don't see any relevance to his personal home address or where he lives unless maybe the city can enlighten me on that point. It doesn't seem like there's any bearing on this matter.
Ms. Stoughton, do you have anything you might like to respond with?
Sure. If whether or not he's a state resident anymore and is employed currently with the Boise Fire Department would be relevant to damages. It would also be relevant to whether or not he could be accommodated via citywide job search. So it is entirely relevant to these issues before the commission.
I concur. And I want, sir, where do you live?
Hold on. I need to object that number one, this is a commission hearing. There are no damages involved. So that's entirely irrelevant.
No,
and secondly,
I'm sorry, Ms. Gibson, I'm going to interrupt you. This will all turn into civil litigation, and we know that. And I am not going to have somebody not answer a question that is relevant, that may come back, may not come back. And it's a
I just want to put this
question. Don't argue with me.
I want to put it on the record, and then he can answer and you can ask. But I have to preserve the record here.
You can preserve your objection for the record. Where do you live, sir? Because we have 2 different addresses for you in the letters that have gone out to you, and they're both in California. If you live in Idaho, you live in Idaho.
So my instruction to not answer still stands.
I leave it to you.
Sorry, I am really failing to see how this is relevant to any point here.
It's not up to you to decide what's relevant and not. That's up to me. So if you don't want to answer, say you don't want to answer, and just recognize what that could mean. That's the question. If you live in Idaho, you live in Idaho. You're not the only person that lives out of state. But if you don't want to answer, we're entitled to know that you're not answering, and we'll make the proper inferences.
So one more,
Go ahead.
there's one more thing to put on the record here, which is that we are reserving all discrimination related claims, including those related to accommodation, to which out of state living arrangements may be relevant for a civil action. So we're not bringing that any before the commission today.
Okay, so then the record should reflect that he is refusing to answer the question upon advice of counsel. Is that
And the city
correct?
would ask that the commission make an inference from his refusal to answer the questions. Where does he live in Boise, Idaho? And is he currently employed in the Boise Fire Department, since he just testified about his people he works with in the Boise Fire Department? And so we would ask that the commission make an inference from that.
There needs to be a correction to that.
Hold on.
You can't, sir. You can answer the question. You can't correct it. You can't correct an answer that you haven't provided.
So I would allow.
Or to anyone in the Boise Fire Department.
Okay, I need people to go one at a time, please. Okay, we need to go one at a time.
That's important for the court reporters.
Thank you.
So I would allow him to respond if it doesn't go any farther than the city that he lives in. I know yesterday that some highly inappropriate things happened, and the street name, number, none of that is relevant. If we can agree to stay away from that, then he's fine to say which city, as long as we're not going farther than that.
We need not go farther than what city he lives in, what city and state, obviously, he lives in. His address is irrelevant.
I agree.
Fair enough. Yes, I do live in Boise.
All
Thank
right.
you. And are you currently employed by a employer in Boise?
I am working a side job right now to try to keep the bills paid, but it's not with the fire department.
And what is that side job?
Hold on, wait. Before you answer, give me a second to object, please. But my objection here is to relevance. This is a commission hearing, and it's not a civil suit, so I don't see how his position now is relevant.
I'm going to overrule the objection. So, sir, you can answer.
I work for a concrete company.
Thank you. No further questions for this witness.
All right. Very good. Given the scope of cross, I assume there's no redirect, or is there, Ms. Gibson?
No, I have no redirect.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your testimony. Do you wish to call another witness?
So, yes. So, yesterday, based on your ruling of the Yidden testimony, I understand that the transcript with his portion of the testimony has been admitted into evidence.
Yes.
So what I wanted to do, and I don't think this will take more than 4 or 5 minutes, is to read into evidence the questions and answers from him, from the Cricken hearing, that are part of that transcript and relevant to today's hearing.
Madam President.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Vice President Nicasio. Yes, sir.
Yes, my apologies to you, Counsel. I needed to get a question into the President before your statement is answered. Madam President, before this member is dismissed, I would like to ask a question from the prerogative of the Commissioner. I don't know. And I don't know when that's appropriate, since Ms. Gibson already has made some statements in terms of what she wants to do. But I will go with your guidance in terms of my question to the member.
Please proceed with your questions. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Firefighter paramedic Amalu. Am I saying your name correctly? Your last name? Amalia?
Amalu.
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 Amalu. Okay. Just so you're aware, during these hearings, commissioners, after the city presents and the member presents, the commissioners have the discretion to be able to ask a question. And I would like to do that just so you're informed. And I'm going to try to get some clarity. So I'm going to lay some foundation with what I heard. Because we're here and we spent a lot of time with testimony on the fact that there's been confirmation from you that you received and acknowledged the general order. I'm going to paraphrase. If I'm wrong, then jump in. And that pretty much what my comprehension is with testimony is that you didn't you didn't obey the general orders. You made a statement in terms of your evaluation. This is my conclusion summary. That your analysis, I'm going to use that word, your personal analysis, is that you felt that you did not want to take the vaccine. And that was a decision. You made some remarks that was my decision or conclusion. Is that accurate?
Oh, hold on. I need to object to the question. So Lax Foundation misstates facts, unintelligible, incomplete, hypothetical. I don't understand the question at all, but if you understand it, Mr. Amalu, you can try to answer.
I can't say I understand it any more than you do.
Well, I'm gonna overrule the objection, but I'll ask Vice President Nicasio kindly, sir, if you would break it down into separate questions. Perhaps Council and Mr. Amalu can understand the question better.
Yeah, so I'm generally trying to get to the point of confirmation, even though we spent time here, that the member has understood the order and that he basically didn't comply with the order, and that he made a statement a few minutes ago in terms of making the decision not to take the vaccine. And that I was looking for a confirmation verbally from him. That's my one question. And then my second question.
Okay, now let's go one question at a time, if you don't mind, Mr. Vice President. Is that correct, Mr. Amalu?
So let me state my objection. I think that's vague and ambiguous. I don't know which order he's referencing. There are several at issue here. Also, still unintelligible, still lacks foundation, still misstates facts. But to the extent that you're able, you may answer, Mr. Amalu.
I'm trying to understand ultimately what the real question is here. I'd be grasping at straws if I tried to come up with an answer for this.
Let me get directly to a question that you can answer yes or no. With everything that has been given as testimony, I would like to know if you would ever consider taking the vaccine.
Okay, I addressed this earlier, and one of the things that came up was this point of if the vaccine was demonstrated to be perfectly safe, no risk, and it was actually FDA approved, and we went down that rabbit hole, consider it. However, we're not talking about that right now. This is a different situation.
Okay, and just as a point of clarity, I believe, and I saw some exhibits that were submitted that you made an appeal for an exemption for religious exemption, and it was denied. There were two levels. One was health and one was religious. For my clarification off the record, it looks like it was only religious. Is that correct?
All right, so I'm going to object here because we are reserving all FEHA-related claims for civil action at a later point in time. We are not bringing up accommodation-related issues or any of that here today. So I'm just going to object to that.
Noted. That's noted for the record, and I'm still going to allow the question. So, sir, you need to just clarify, please.
Could you restate the question, please?
Firefighter, in terms of your application for exemption, there were two categoricals that I understand. One was health related and the other was religious. It looks like from the evidence being submitted that you applied only for religious and were denied. Is that correct?
Same objections.
Same ruling.
I will attempt to answer the question as I believe it is being asked, but the religious exemption, if you have actually read it, is directly tied also to the health objections.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam President. I've concluded my questions. Thank you. Thank you, member.
Do the other members of the commission have follow-up questions for the member? And I see none. Oh, Commissioner Morgan.
Yes, thank you, President Feinstein. Yeah, I just had maybe a couple of questions, basic questions. I just want to ask Firefighter Amalu. Did you ever consider? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Did you ever consider or think that it's a yes or no answer to this one? That Chief Nicholson possibly saved your life from separating you from your position. Did you ever consider that?
I'm going to object. It is completely and totally irrelevant to this commission hearing. Completely.
I'm going to overrule the objection. I'm overruling the objection. So, sir, please
answer. Just honest yes or no answer. Just that's all I ask you.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay, that's fair. I had another question for you. I mean, earlier you stated some numbers towards the end of the year of 2021, I guess during the holidays, where you mentioned about over 300 members had breakthrough cases. Do you know, out of those members, you claimed it was 350, right? Do you remember that statement you made?
Objection, misstates testimony.
Excuse me?
Overruled because he can clarify his testimony.
Is there a question here?
Yes, the question was pretty clear.
Yeah, well, I'm not done with the question, but I was asking you, did you remember your statement?
I have to know exactly what statement you're talking about.
Well, that's the one you mentioned when you were talking to the chief, when you claimed that there were or you claimed that there were 350 COVID cases that happened with fully vaccinated personnel. You don't remember that statement you made? I'm paraphrasing, but you made something similar to that.
I'll object again as misstates testimony.
And I'll overrule because he can clarify. That's why we're here.
Would you like me to reread the statement?
You don't remember making that statement?
Taking notes on my own statements. I can reread.
One at a time. Okay, Mr. Amalu, your response, please.
The statement that you're probably referring to came from a tweet from our mayor, London Breed. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I'm referring to a statement you made to the chief, which you sounded pretty confident with, or you're pretty definite with your numbers. And I think she retaliated, well, not actually retaliated, but she thought it was over 300 members that possibly had breakthrough cases of COVID-19 during the late 2021, or basically during the holidays, or towards the end of the year of 2021. You don't remember that statement you made?
Objection, that misstates testimony, so maybe he doesn't remember it because it wasn't said.
Well, let's hear from him. Overruled.
I'm afraid the best I can do is just restate what Ms. Gibson said. We're talking about possibly two different things here.
Well, I don't think that's true. And
did anybody else remember those statements he made? Am I just hearing things?
I have a record here.
Are you possibly referring to the workers' compensation claims that he referenced?
Yeah, that might have been involved as well. Yes.
Okay, I think that's maybe a different question.
Well, he insinuated that it was COVID-19 related, and there were breakthrough cases, which he was trying to make the point that the vaccines didn't work. I would imagine that's the point he was trying to make. But now he doesn't remember even saying this. I'm confused.
But I think there's some misunderstanding here. I think that in the terms you put it, are not exactly the terms that he put it in. So we can either have the court reporter read it back, or if you want to ask a different question that relates to what he did say, we can do that.
Okay.
Well, I'm not gonna.
Is there a chance the court reporter can look that up with the questioning from
There
the chief?
is. She may not care for you afterwards, Mr. Morgan, but Madam Court Reporter, can you help us find that testimony?
Yes, I can. Just give me a moment here.
Of course.
I'm sure the chief remembers the questions. The chief still present?
The chief is present.
I am still present.
But if we're going to get it done, the accurate record is that of the certified court reporter, and we will give her the time that she needs.
Okay, just give me a moment. And
of course, no problem. Do you want a few minutes?
No, I don't need I just mean people not to talk because I can't take it down if I'm looking for it at the same time.
Understood.
Yeah.
We will all mute ourselves.
Okay, so the first part that I could find with this was the question was, because December of 2021 and January of 2022, you had over 350 workers' compensation claims filed by firefighters. Isn't that right? Question, we did have over 300, I would say. Yeah, December and January. I don't know exact numbers, but yes, it was over 300. Question, and out of all of those claims, isn't it true that the vast majority of those claims were for firefighters who had COVID-19?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I don't think that's the Amalu testimony. I think that's Janine Nicholson's testimony.
Okay. Hang on a second.
Well, that was the questioning that he was asking Chief Nicholson.
Okay, hang on, please.
I know I'm not hearing things.
Right. I think that's where it came. I think it came in there with her with the testimony that the chief was giving. Because that's the only place that I see this
speaking. I'm sorry.
This is the court reporter speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see Miss Gibson. I just see her rectangle. No. Oh, there she is. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. Good. Want to make sure everybody's present. Thank you.
Okay, Firefighter Amalu.
Wait, hang on one second.
No, wait 1 second, Commissioner Morgan.
I'm sorry.
Please. No problem.
So yes, I think that the reference to the 350 came about in the chief's testimony, and then there was some mention in firefighter paramedics testimony about the chief going from fire station to fire station and getting. So there wasn't a specific number, but there was infecting the different firehouses.
I was asked by Ms. Gibson about the 350. It wasn't by firefighter Amalu, just to clarify.
Right. Okay.
I think that's right.
Okay, so that part was all off the record because I was looking over here. So whatever you want to put on the record now, but that's where we're at.
All right.
Okay.
Commissioner Morgan?
All right. Thank you.
Restate your question. Sir?
Thank you, Ms. Stark. I'm sorry about that. So am I to understand that firefighter Amalu didn't quote the 350 number, but Ms. Gibson did? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure who you're asking. So the testimony cited was from Janine Nicholson, the fire chief, not from Mr. Amalu.
Right, but I did specifically hear firefighter Amalu quote that number 350, and Chief Nicholson responded saying it was over 300. She didn't have an accurate number, but he kept quoting 350 very accurately. No,
That was Miss Gibson who quoted the 350 to me.
okay.
In the questioning, it was not firefighter paramedic.
Okay, my bad. Okay, but it was the respondents. Okay. All right.
Right. Do any of the other commissioners have questions? Commissioner Covington? Yes?
Thank you, Madam President. I had to unmute myself. I just have two quick questions for the member. And that is, were you offered any other position with the city and county of San Francisco?
I'm just going to object as to, we are reserving all FEHA-related claims for civil action.
And I note that, and it will be preserved, but I'm going to overrule the objection, and it's part of the process to accommodate people that can be accommodated. So if you would, firefighter Amalu, please answer.
Can we restate the question, please?
Were you offered any other position with the city and county of San Francisco?
No.
No? Okay. Did you have any conversations with Ms. Jesusa Bouchon, who does that kind of work in terms of helping people transition to another position and staying with the city and county?
Same objection for the record.
Overruled.
These questions have been asked of other members as well, so.
Understood. I mean, I need to look back through my email chain with Bouchon to even understand exactly how that went down.
Okay, so you have no recollection of that?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Just to be clear, are you talking about like oral conversations or anything?
Any conversation. The other members have, call and response. That's usually in our packets. That's why I've been flipping these papers so furiously, because I didn't recall seeing that there had been a search for a new position, and either one was offered or there was none available. So I wanted to make sure that I have all of the information regarding that. But if he has no recollection, then he has no recollection.
No recollection of that, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you undertake to find a position within the city and county of San Francisco that would accommodate you?
I'm looking through my email string right now with her. There were many back and forths between Jesusa Bouchon and Luke Chu.
All right, then I will wait.
So, yeah, no, that's fine. So in regards to the citywide job search, that was never offered to me. No explanation was given for why that was not offered to me. Although I suspect it may have had something to do with the fact that this was a citywide mandate And I'm pretty sure there's no jobs in the city that aren't allowing or are allowing unvaccinated members to work. So perhaps that had something to do with it.
I think you also had to request it. You had to say this was something that you were interested in, looking at options.
May I speak to this? May I speak to this?
Yes, please, Chief.
Yes, so I
And I'm just
believe,
gonna, Chief, I'm gonna you're a witness, and I'm just gonna restate you remain under oath.
I do remain under oath. It is my understanding that firefighter paramedic Amalu was not offered a religious or medical exemption, so he would not be put into any accommodation process.
All right.
So that's why he doesn't. That's why he doesn't remember, because it didn't happen. Okay.
Yes, and Commissioner Covington, the denial of his request for an exemption is included in Exhibit 2 for the city's exhibits. It is Bates number 0062. And you will note that the citywide job search is not checked.
Okay. 0062 coming up. Bear with me, please. Okay, so there was no request.
He was determined not to have submitted documentation sufficient to establish a conflict between his religion and the vaccine mandate. And so the exemption request was denied, and it didn't go farther than that.
Is counsel for the department testifying? Because if so, she needs to be put under oath.
Just trying to help answer the commissioner's questions.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I had a couple of other questions, but I will either not ask them or ask them at a different time.
Questions before we proceed to closing argument? Yes, Commissioner Morgan.
Yeah, well, first, I guess I want to apologize to firefighter Amalu, because I thought I guess it was Miss Gibson who said that. It sounds like, so I want to apologize to you for that. But I do have a question for the chief, if I may, since we were talking about those numbers. 300. I know the chief quoted over 300 ended up on disability, or was most of that COVID related, Chief, towards the end of 2021?
Yes, most of it was COVID related, and it was not 300 people at once, just to be clear.
Okay. Out of those, roughly 300 people, how many of them was seriously hospitalized because of COVID-19 that were fully vaccinated?
There were very few people hospitalized after the vaccine was there were more cases, but fewer people hospitalized due to COVID infections at that time. So I don't recall the numbers, but it was very few versus the numbers prior to the vaccination.
How many people died out of that 300?
None of our members died, but I know of at least one that had to retire due to long-term COVID. And I know that we currently have 9 members that have been off long-term with long-term COVID from prior to the vaccination. And we don't have anyone off long-term that was vaccinated.
Thank you, Chief.
Perfect. Yes, Commissioner Covington.
Thank you. I was going to just keep my questions for the member, but since my fellow commissioner has called upon the chief of the department, I have a question for her. Chief Nicholson, am I correct that everyone who comes before us still has their position and can still decide whether to take the vaccine or not. And then this is the last opportunity to declare that they will or they won't. He's still a member of the department as of right now, yes?
He is, yes, he's still on the books.
Okay, and it is only if it's found that he cannot continue in his position because he, in that window of time that was given to all members to comply, that's when the process is totally ended, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I just to change focus here for a moment. Does the department have its own physician, full-time physician, and
Yes,
medical
we do.
staff?
Yes, we do.
Yes, and were there efforts made to get information out on a regular basis concerning the science?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on, I just need to interject. My objection here is vague and ambiguous. I didn't understand what that question meant.
All right, I was following up on your questioning, Ms. Gibson, regarding the number of physicians that the chief of the department may have had conversations with. We have a medical staff within the department, which is who are just an elevator ride away from the chief.
I think the chief just answered.
Okay, I was trying to let you know why I'm asking her the question.
My objection was more to the term, this follow the science, which is so vague and amorphous that, nobody knows what it means at this point.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, I was objecting as vague and ambiguous to the term follow the science. I'm not sure what document or issue that was referencing.
Okay, I see. Chief Nicholson, there were numerous bulletins that were sent out. Are you able to say where a lot of that information that was given to each and every person who works for the department, where that information came from that was often quoted by the department physician?
So the department physician sent out numerous newsletters, if that's what you were referring to, with COVID information in those newsletters.
And I'll just object to the extent that that question calls for speculation.
Yeah, overruled.
We, as commissioners, received those missives too. Can you give us, Chief, a short précis of Dr. Brokaw's curriculum vitae?
I do not have it in front of me, so I cannot accurately do that.
Okay, but before she came to us, she was at Stanford, was she not?
She has worked for UCSF. I don't know if she worked for Stanford as well, but I believe I'd have to look at the CV.
Okay, thank you. I know that I know that you don't have every one CV in your mind, so thank you, and thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. All right. I presume we are now ready to proceed. Does each side wish to seek admission of their exhibits? I don't think we've done that.
Wait. So I have another witness because
Oh,
remember,
I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, as I stated, the order yesterday that you made said that we could admit the testimony of Dr. Yeadon through the Cricken hearing, commission hearing.
That's
and so
correct.
I have a few questions and answers just to read through. Like I said, I don't think it will take more than 4 or 5 minutes, but I want to make sure that there's an accurate reflection of that on the record. So
we would object that we're only reading pieces of it and just ask that the entire transcript be submitted so that there's a complete and accurate record in the proceedings.
I'm going to sustain that objection. The entire transcript, both direct and cross, will be admitted.
Okay, so if I may, what I need to explain
you
is
asked previously that his CV be admitted, and it will be also.
Yeah, so my objection here is that under the Brown Act, this is an open hearing, and I know that you all will get the benefit of seeing this transcript, and you've already seen it. The problem is that the public will not, and part of this open forum is, to allow the public to understand what evidence it is that you are reviewing and understand it. So, given that will only take about 4 or 5 minutes, I'm just reasserting our right to read into the record. And these are actually mostly questions from Mr. Yan that he asked.
But I'm gonna tell you this, counsel. Anybody could have heard that testimony. That was an open hearing. It wasn't a closed hearing. And his testimony was heard by anybody. And I believe there were Cricken, I think, had over 800 people watching the hearing. Which is a world record for the San Francisco Fire Commission disciplinary or termination or separation proceedings. So reading it into the record when it will become part of the record anyway just doesn't seem to be the best use of time. And I'm going to let me ask Mr. Russi, I'll take your advice on this.
But yeah, I would just submit. I thought.
Excuse me. I'm talking to Mr. Russi at this point.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. I'm comfortable with your ruling. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That's going to be my ruling then.
All right. Well, then for the record, I do have an objection based on yesterday's ruling. So I'll pull that up.
Yesterday's ruling?
Yes. Okay, so this is based on yesterday's ruling with respect to Dr. Michael Yeadon not being able to testify today. And so I know there may have been a great number of people who were viewing Mr. Cricken's hearing. However, we have no idea whether or not the same people or different people are available today. We want to make sure that the public has an opportunity to know what this expert has to say. So the verified...
Yeah, continue, Ms. Gibson.
I just feel like it's really important to do this for the record. So the verified complaint in this action, which we talked about with Chief Nicholson, says, I quote, firefighter paramedic Amalu's failure to comply with the vaccination requirement endangers the health and safety of the city's workforce and the public we serve. And she then went on to state that this line of reasoning supports her recommendation for the non-disciplinary separation of firefighter Amalu's permanent civil service position. However, Janine Nicholson, as she stated on the record, has no sufficient background in public health to make that blanket assertion. And in fact, it remains demonstrably false. So it is of importance that the substance of Mr. Amalu's case in chief, it's very important, but also tangentially to the credibility of the person who has written something like the verified complaint under penalty of perjury. So we think it's very important for a number of reasons to have an expert, and the city and county had every opportunity to bring Susan Phillips or any health expert or any doctor they wanted to this hearing, and they chose not to. That was their decision. Just because they cannot rebut the evidence of our expert is no reason to preclude him from being able to testify today. And that's my objection.
Okay, noted for the record. Thank you. All right. Are we ready to proceed to closing argument?
The city is.
Yes, we are.
All right. Madam Court Reporter, how are you doing?
I'm fine. We can keep going. That's fine. Did you hear me? I'm sorry.
I did. I did hear you. Thank you. I'm going to take 1 second here to lock my beloved pet out of the room. My apologies. All right. We shall hear from Ms. Stoughton first.
Thank you. Wait, I'm so sorry, but we need to admit the exhibits, I believe.
We do. You're correct. We do.
So I think Ms. Stoughton has already entered hers, and I'll enter mine as well.
Did you, Ms. Stoughton? I'm losing.
I did. The city has entered theirs.
All right. Thank you.
We would like to admit exhibits 1 through 16. 16 is the CV for Mike Eden that we've already discussed.
Right.
And the city objects to the entrance of city Amalu Exhibit 12. This is again the declaration of their purported expert. It is hearsay, it is irrelevant, and we ask that it be excluded.
All right. Do you have a response, Ms. Gibson?
If Dr. Eden had been permitted to testify today, he could have authenticated it. It's very unfortunate that he was not able to do that, and I think it's highly prejudicial and unfair.
He was permitted to testify at Cricken's hearing, and this was still excluded because he could not authenticate it. And we're not talking about authenticity, we're talking about whether or not this is hearsay and relevance.
It wouldn't be hearsay if it was authenticated today. He didn't do it then, but he could have done it today.
This is what I'm going to do. With regard to Exhibit 12, his declaration is not admitted because the testimony that he gave was admitted, and his curriculum vitae will be admitted into evidence.
So then I have
just so it's the Bates stamps are a little weird here with Exhibit A and B, but I can admit 1700176 through 193.
What exhibit is that? 12?
No, excuse me. 12. So it's half of 12 that I'm admitting.
I have one.
To be clear, we're excluding Bates numbers 1 Amalu 000161 through 000172.
Let me see. Yeah,
I think that's right.
1 through 172. Yes, because we've admitted the transcript from the Cricken hearing, and that was live testimony that was subject to cross-examination. This declaration has not been subjected to cross-examination.
Okay, so we have 1 through 11, the Bates range of number 12 that we just talked about, and then 13 through 16.
Ms. Stoughton?
Yeah, I'm just flipping through.
Of course. No, it's a big binder, so I understand.
Yes.
Oh, and actually, we can leave out number 9 as well. That's related to the religious issues, so we won't ask for 9 to be admitted.
All right. So 9 will not be admitted. Just to be clear. Any further comments on the exhibits?
Not on our side.
Nothing from the city.
All right. So we are ready for closing argument. And Ms. Stoughton, you bear the burden of proof, so you will proceed first, please.
Thank you. In the summary of the health order, the health officer made the following determinations, and I'm quoting: San Francisco has experienced a surge in new COVID-19 cases and an increase in hospitalizations, mostly among people who are not fully vaccinated, due to the highly contagious Delta variant. Future surges may occur due to other variants. In some instances, individuals who are fully vaccinated have been infected by breakthrough infections and are showing symptoms, though nearly no vaccinated individuals have required hospitalization. Consistent with that medical determination, the health order states, and again I'm quoting, that the best way to address the current COVID surge and future surges is for everyone who is eligible to get fully vaccinated as soon as possible. That basic premise, as outlined in the health order, is not subject to dispute in these proceedings. The health officer made those determinations under her authority as a San Francisco health officer to protect the public health of all employees and citizens of the city and county of San Francisco. Firefighter paramedic Amalu and his purported experts' personal opinions questioning the efficacy and science behind the COVID vaccines are irrelevant. Firefighter paramedic Amalu's offered nothing but his personal opinions, unsupported by science, for a reason here today. Dr. Yeadon's opinion also has to be considered in the context of all the other statements he has made about COVID, including calling the public reaction to COVID, quote, mass psychosis, comparing the public reaction to COVID to the Salem witch trials, and claiming that the COVID pandemic ended long ago. Dr. Yeadon also admitted that he is not an epidemiologist and has no training or expertise in public health. All of his testimony needs to be considered in that context. There's also no validity to the claim that the health order is impossible to comply with because of the inclusion of the word prevent in the definition of fully vaccinated. The health order clearly identifies which vaccines are acceptable to be considered fully vaccinated. It gives an example of what those vaccines are, and in case there's any doubt, it provides a link to the FDA website where anyone can go to look at the vaccines that they're talking about. Firefighter paramedic Amalu's argument would require the commission to find that the health officer, whose job is to protect the public health of the city and county of San Francisco, issued a health order that she knew nobody could comply with. That argument is preposterous on its face and should be disregarded as such. Consistent with the public health concerns identified in the health order recognized that there were certain high-risk settings where public health needs required that all persons entering be fully vaccinated. The health order permitted exemptions based on a sincerely held belief or a disability, but specified that accommodation may not be possible for employees working in high-risk settings due to the inherent risks working with those populations. The chief of the department testified that any firefighter, including firefighter paramedic Amalu, could enter a high-risk setting at any time in the normal course of his job. It is impossible for firefighter paramedic Amalu to perform the essential functions of his position if he is not permitted to enter a high-risk setting. The chief also testified that, relying on the health order, she determined that the department could not accommodate even those individuals who had a sincerely held religious belief because of the increased risks an unvaccinated employee would pose to the public they serve as well as the city's workforce. It is undisputed that firefighter Amalu had notice of his obligation to comply with the vaccination requirement. It is undisputed that paramedic Amalu knew that he would be subject to non-disciplinary separation if he failed to comply with the health order's vaccination requirement. Firefighter paramedic made the personal choice not to get vaccinated. Therefore, he can no longer perform the essential functions of his position, since he cannot be in compliance with a health order, and he must be separated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stoughton. All right, Ms. Gibson.
May I proceed?
Please, yes.
Susan Phillips could have testified today that her health order was not impossible to follow and it was not preposterous. Where is she? The city decided not to call her, and there's only one reason for that. Firefighter Amalu is a permanent civil service employee of the city and county of San Francisco. He is not an at-will employee. The United States Supreme Court has held that where public employees have a property right or property interest in their continued employment, the employer may not terminate the employee without certain due process protections. Here, those protections apply. Mr. Amalu has a property interest in his position that cannot be arbitrarily removed at the whim of the commission or the department. As the evidence has shown, Chief Nicholson provided 3 reasons in her verified complaint dated November 3rd, 2021, for recommending the non-disciplinary separation of William Amalu from his position as a firefighter. The first reason provided was Amalu's alleged failure to comply with the vaccination requirement of the City and County of San Francisco's Order of the Health Officer. The health order sets forth in Section 2B that the primary intent of the order is to continue to protect the community from COVID-19 and to also increase vaccination rates to reduce the transmission of COVID long-term so that the community is safer and the COVID-19 health emergency can come to an end. Nevertheless, Dr. Yeadon's testimony has made clear that vaccination does nothing to protect the community from COVID-19. Therefore, the stated intent of the health order can never be met by way of vaccination. It is therefore impossible to follow. By analogy, this would be like creating an order that requires employees to plant a certain number of trees in order to reduce carbon levels in a city, and then providing them with only plastic plants to stuff into the ground. Living trees that convert carbon to oxygen will never come from plastic objects stuffed into the ground. Just as protecting the community from COVID-19 and reducing transmission of it will never come by increasing vaccination rates for a vaccine that doesn't prevent infection. This is important because the entire intent of the health order cannot be effectuated by its terms. It is in fact an oxymoron in and of itself. In fact, and I quote, "All provisions of this order must be interpreted to effectuate the purposes and intent of it. So if vaccination does not effectuate protection of the community from COVID-19, then it is by its own terms impossible to follow." The second reason provided in the chief's verified complaint was a failure to comply with vaccination requirements set forth in General Order A70. General Order A70 was put into place on August 10th of 2021, a date that preceded the health order and therefore is superseded by the health order. The third reason provided by the chief for non-disciplinary separation was the chief's personal conclusion that, quote, "Firefighter Amalu's failure to comply with the vaccination requirement endangers the health and safety of the city's workforce and the public we serve. Chief Nicholson has no health training or background sufficient to make that determination. In fact,
I'm ask you, Ms. Gibson, just to slow down a little bit, please, for the benefit of the court reporter. Thank you.
In fact, the only person who did and who was available to testify today was Mike Yeadon, the former chief scientific officer at Pfizer, who has undoubtedly, in his testimony, confirmed that the chief's unqualified assessment of Mr. Amalu's risk to the public and the city's workforce was entirely inaccurate. The city has made every effort to stifle Mr. Amalu's defense in this case. It has prevented him from bringing an expert witness, and it has only permitted a transcript from another and factually distinguishable case. It has prohibited Mr. Amalu's defense from speaking with Lucy Chu, one of the witnesses it identified on its side, and it has not complied with its own discovery requirements. What is obvious is that the Commission is fearful that expert testimony and a full consideration of objective fact will undermine their narrative. Fortunately, we can proceed with hearings and venues that are more impartial and unafraid of objective facts. There is at least one member of the Commission here who does understand due process. By way of her former position as a judge, she had to. And so, Commissioner Feinstein, I am calling on you to put politics aside and show the Commission to be more than a rubber stamp for a political agenda that is damaging San Francisco and turning it from a once desirable destination to a place people drive around to avoid. Based on the evidence submitted, there is only one conclusion that any objective fact finder could come to, and that is that the help order is impossible to follow, and therefore a nullity. The department should not be permitted to terminate its permanent civil service employees over an alleged failure to follow an order that cannot be implemented as written. Finally, a person who's a lot smarter than I am once said that the truth is like a lion. You don't need to defend it. Let it loose and it will defend itself. If this Commission believes that it is doing the right thing and the truthful thing and the just thing in its deliberations, then it should hold them in open, not hiding in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stone, do you have a rebuttal?
I do, thank you. Firefighter Amalu's counsel keeps referencing due process. The only due process at issue here is that set forth by the Supreme Court, the California Supreme Court, in Skelly v. State Personnel Board. The due process that's at issue here is a procedural due process that simply requires certain procedures be met before an employee with the permanent civil service status can be terminated. That is a notice of the charges against him or her and an opportunity to present their side of the case. Firefighter Amalu had those due process procedures. The chief confirmed that those due process procedures were complied with. And so any reference to due process in this matter is a red herring and should be disregarded as such. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That concludes the evidentiary and argumentative portion of this hearing. The Commission will now determine whether to deliberate in open or closed session. Do I have a motion from one of the commissioners? Vice President Nacasio.
That we have deliberation in closed session.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Covington.
President Feinstein, how do you vote?
Closed session.
And Commissioner Morgan, how do you vote?
I'll concur. Yeah, closed session. That's fine.
The motion is unanimous. We will go into closed session at 4:58.
Wait, I just needed to make an objection for the record. Can we go back on for 1 minute?
No. I mean, you missed it. I'm sorry. We've concluded it. We just took our vote. So, no, we're not going back on the record on that. So we're going to go into closed session for deliberations.
Okay, I will move everybody out that's not going to be here for deliberations.
I know Mr. Russi has another commitment. Is there any objection to just taking 5 minutes? Okay, we're going to take 5 minutes.
Okay, I need to get everybody out.
Reporter, oh no, you're not there. Never mind. Sorry, Mr. Russi.
I can stay for a little while.
Okay.
Court reporter, you were saying something, but you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Commissioner Covington. I missed that part. Yes, I was just saying I was still here, but I'm unfamiliar now with am I doing anything else or am I done for the day?
No, you're not. Well, I'm going to let the commission secretary
take care of me.
Answer that, but you'd be lucky, but you're not done for the day.
Right. So I've moved you out as an attendee, and I'm going to put us in. And I'm going to put us in closed session. And once we're out of closed session, I'll bring you back over to court report the findings and the adjournment.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No
So,
problem.
Madam Secretary, this is Mr. Morgan.
Yep.
Were we going to take a 5-minute break before closed session, or I'm confused?
Yeah, I think I don't know how many minutes she said.
I'm still in. Okay, good.
Those unmet needs to improve their lives. I have a sense of satisfaction when we make a real difference in our clients' lives. We assist with getting people housed, we get them connected to treatment, we see them through the sobriety, and that's really rewarding. The advice I would give young girls navigating life is to persevere. Don't be afraid of failure. I have failed at things in my career, and they are opportunities to bounce back and continue on. It's important for women, people of color, to see other women in this role because representation matters. I was always told I could do anything, but I never saw women in these roles. And when I first started my career 25 years ago, there were not that many other women. So it is amazing to respond to scenes and go to meetings and see other female leaders and learn from each other. I do consider this career my dream job. From working on the ambulance to being a chief in an administrative position, overseeing a division, it's been challenging and rewarding and inspiring full time.
Firefighters is increasing. Women still make up less than 5% of career firefighters in the U.S. Their representation may be small. The difference they're making is anything but. From one emergency to the next, this is a typical day at the office for San Francisco firefighter Captain Julie Mao. When Mao and her team arrive at the scene, they confirm their suspicions.
It's a issue with the alarm panel that signal us. So sounds like it's a malfunction. So we're going to cancel it. We're going to check out the building while we're here.
Mao says false alarms like this one are more common than real emergencies. But better safe than sorry. There are more than 1,700 uniformed staff in the San Francisco Fire Department. Just over 200 of them.
I believe everybody is back in. I've got We've got the court reporter.
I'm here, yes.
Okay, so we're back in open session. And the time is 5:34. Report on any action taken in closed session as specified in California Government Code Section 54957.1A5 and San Francisco Administrative Code Section 67.12B4.
Good evening, Commissioners. Deputy City Attorney Brad Russi. I will report on behalf of the Commission that in closed session, the Commission voted unanimously to find that the Department proved by a preponderance of the evidence that the member violated the City Health Officer's vaccination order as well as the Chief's General Order and upheld the Chief's recommendation of a non-disciplinary separation in this matter. The Commission will issue a letter tomorrow memorializing this decision and will adopt findings of fact to support this decision at a future meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Vote to elect whether to disclose any or all discussions held in closed session as specified in San Francisco Administrative Code Section 67.12A.
Right, is there a motion? Vice President Nacasio.
Madam President, I move to not disclose.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Covington.
President Feinstein, how do you vote?
Not to disclose.
And Commissioner Morgan, how do you vote? You're on mute.
Yeah, not to disclose.
The motion is unanimous. Item 3, adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Vice President Nacasio, how do you vote?
Vote to adjourn.
And Commissioner Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned at 5:36. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Okay, now